Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ring Post Radio, the only show that is going to talk about the CM Punk footage. It's the only show. No other wrestling programs talking about it. It aired on AEW on Dynamite, and everyone's like, we're not going to talk about it. I'm your host, Ryan Knightsey. With me, as always, is my co-host, Scotty Edwards. Scotty, how are you doing on this fine Sunday morning?
I am doing wonderful. I'm tired. I recorded with you last night, so
that is true. That is true.
This is a double dose. Making up for next week, I guess. But we have a guest today, so that makes it a little more fun for our usual recording.
Yes, we are joined today by author. I think that's the number one. That's got to be the number one title right now. Author and wressling podcast host, JD Oliva. JD, how are you doing?
Oliva, yeah, it's great to be on. Thank you very much. That's okay.
Dang, I've been practicing.
Everyone does that, but I feel the need to correct. No, I feel great. I'm a dad in his 40s, so I'm used to being up this early on a Sunday morning because my 8-year-old doesn't let me sleep in. So this is life.
Well, we're glad that you're able to spend that Sunday morning with us and with all of our listeners and viewers at home. If you're watching this live, we appreciate you watching this live. Of course, you can always listen to the audio version after the fact, wherever you get podcasts. Hey, and if you're watching us live via YouTube or X, then leave a comment. We'll probably talk about it throughout the show whenever I see it. But we got a lot to talk about. We're going to be discussing AEW Dynasty a little bit early, but we typically try to do it a little bit early. Just based on our recording schedule. It's a week. Is it a week away? Is it 2 weeks away? I believe
it's a week.
1 week.
1 week. Oh, Jesus Christ!
Next Sunday.
AEW Dynasty. We're going to be talking about Windy City Riot. What happened in Chicago and New Japan this past Friday that JD was at himself. Plus, we are going to talk about the CM Punk footage. But I think more importantly than all of that, JD, you got a new book on the way.
I do. We're launching a Kickstarter for my new novel, Gaijin. It launches on May 6th, so about 2 weeks away. I'm super stoked. I haven't put out a book in about 2 years, a new book. I put out a couple old ones in 2022, but I changed careers in the fall of last year, and that kind of derailed my progress. So I've had this book finished for a little over a year now, but I've just kind of been dragging my feet on releasing it. I got more work to do. Oh, I need to work on this. Oh, I need to do that. And then my dad died on February 27th. And that's kind of renewed my need to just get things done and to stop being a freaking coward and to just go ahead and pull the trigger. And you know what? You only get one life to live. And I'm going to put this out. And it's honestly, it's the best book I've ever written. I'm thrilled. I got the proof in the mail yesterday. I'm gonna line up my camera.
Look at that beauty. Look at that beauty.
Here it is. Not for resale because this is the proof. I need to make some tweaks now that I'm looking at, because when they do these things, so you go, do you like the way this looks? And I go, almost. So this is my special copy, and I'm gonna make some tweaks to it as we go on. But I'm pretty thrilled. I wrote a book about an American pro wrestler who kind of gets sucked into the Yakuza war in Japan, and I'm really thrilled by this thing. It's a lot of fun because it's half a crime story, and then I also did a kayfabe version of what his character is going through. So he's basically in a G1 style tournament as an American. So it's kind of fun to take the character, the human being, take him from being a guy in over his head to a complete piece of shit, and to take a heel wrestler and turn him into the biggest baby face in the company, have these simultaneous trajectories going on for the same person. And it was a lot of fun writing this book, playing around in the kayfabe world and mixing it with what's really going on. And I'm a fan of the Aubrey Sitterson idea that pro wrestling is at its heart a con. So that was very much in my head when I was writing this thing. And you can't really trust the narrators. Everyone's trying to work people at all times. And like I said, I can't wait to get people reading this thing. I think it's the best thing I've ever written. This will be my 13th full-length novel. So I'm pretty stoked, man. 2 weeks from now, we're going to put it out there, and I'm thrilled. I just can't wait to start talking about this again.
And you said that'll be on Kickstarter, people.
Kickstarter exclusively for the first 6 months. Yes. If you want to get a hold of this thing, Kickstarter is the place to go. Kickstarter is great. It's better than Amazon because more money goes into my pocket. And then
Good reason.
Maybe
that's it. So it's going to be exclusive there. If you're not and that's the nice thing about Kickstarters too, is I can do a lot of different stuff around it. Like we're not just doing the paperback book. We're also doing, the ebook. If you're an ebook guy, I'm an ebook guy. You have that. We're going to have an audio book released with it. You can get a hold of any of my other books. There's going to be special deals where you want to get a big old bundle of JD Oliva stuff. That's cool. I'm going to have a short story, exclusive, never released short story that's kind of in this world to go along with that. I did the program for the tournament. This is what I dragged my. Cool. It took me forever to do the program for the tournament because they got 24 wrestlers in this thing, and I can't tell you who all of them are, but I could at least, provide the brackets, because it's a wrestling. Yeah. We love those kind of things. So I tried to make this something that wrestling fans would get into. Mm-hmm. Like I've got observer entries, I've got star ratings, I've got all those things.
Oh my God.
That's awesome. I wanted to do something that was kind of for us, that was a little bit different. And I think that if you're a fan of just regular books, you're normal people books, you're not going to feel left out of something like this. Like it's just a wink and a nod for people like us. And because I found it challenging to talk about wrestling without just saying, well, he's in the ring and this happened. Because they got shows like this, right, where we come in and we talk about these kind of things. So I wanted to reflect that because that is part of the world that we live in now. So I don't know, doing something like this, they always say, write what you know isn't really, it's kind of a cliche and it's not really accurate, but write the book that only you can write. I just read this. I just finished this book yesterday called "The Only Dead Indians" from Stephen Graham Jones, and it's about a guy on a Native American reservation. Excuse me. Only he could have written that book. Right. And I really feel like this is a book that only I could have written. So I'm real excited about that. This is unabashed me. So it's gonna be cool to get it in people's hands, man. I'm really thrilled.
Well, I love to hear it. Again, the book is called Gaijin. It'll be hitting the Kickstarter May 6th. You'll be
on theme. Who is your favorite Gaijin that you've seen, like just as a wrestling fan? That goes
currently all time. Like what are we talking
all
about?
Time. We'll do all time.
Oh, Stan Hansen.
All right.
Easy. That's simple, bro. I'm a Brody guy too, but Hansen just had, Hansen has that second win in the 90s. That's just so freaking epic. Like I could watch this stuff forever.
Yes, Gaijin, May 6th of the Kickstarter. I assume obviously once the Kickstarter is funded, everything, and you get all these books out, there'll be paperback. I assume based off all the other books on Amazon, a Kindle edition as well.
Audiobook as well.
Audiobook,
as you said,
audiobook as well.
Very cool.
So yeah, you'll be able to get this everywhere. Do you have a timetable, or is it just sort of based on how long the Kickstarter goes?
Kickstarter is going to go 30 days.
Okay,
so 30 days from the launch of the Kickstarter, we start sending out stuff. So probably within it takes a little bit longer because the money's got to hit the account. It's got to, jump through the hoops, all that. So it's about a month, roughly a month from the time that the Kickstarter ends, you should get your books in the mail.
Awesome.
So expect those books maybe early June,
early June,
something like that.
A summer treat, taken on vacation.
Yeah. Go to the beach, hit the town.
Go to the beach, hit the town.
Read it while you're at the beach.
That's right.
There you go. It's perfect.
Yeah, I'm a nerd, but I have never brought a book to the beach in my life. So I mean, I hear that all the time. I'm like, who brings a book to the beach?
Me neither. But I was trying to make it connect with people.
But I like it. I like the thought behind it.
Well, there's no place better to start than with Gaijin, of course, by JD over here. Well, let us.
I love the art. Sorry, I had to say that.
Thanks.
I also love seeing the physical book. I'm sure I obviously have never wrote a book. But I'm sure when you get the physical copy, that's just like an awesome feeling.
I love it. Like behind me right now, it's my bookshelf note. That's I'm an egomaniac, so a lot of that is my stuff. So I mean, it makes me happy to see it. It makes it feel real. Like it's funny because I don't read physical books much myself. Like I'm much more of an audiobook or ebook guy. I'm a tech junkie, right? But I know the vast majority of normal people prefer to have something in their hands. And there is just something different about holding a book like this in your hands and just feeling the weight of it. Like before the show, we were joking around and Ryan said, wow, that thing is thick. And I'm like, yeah, man, it's 380 pages. And then and I said, to you guys, I didn't realize how long it was, thick, like girthiness to it until it came out.
Don't clip that. No one clip that.
Oh, clip. If you listen to the Mike and JD show, you could expect those kind of things reasonably early on. But you didn't realize just how thick it was until it came out of the envelope yesterday. I'm like, damn, I wrote a long book, man. So yeah.
That's so impressive. That's very impressive. Man. I get that feeling. I get that feeling coming from the film world. I get the feeling of putting all your time and effort into something and coming and having a physical copy at the end of it. It's a weird feeling and it's a great feeling.
I don't have any comparisons to that. I just wanted to put that out there.
Well, you download all your podcasts, Scotty, and put them on a thumb drive. That way you can carry it around and just have it.
Buddy, you think I have a thumb drive?
Thumb drive. What year is this, man? Scotty, man, you got a nonfiction book in you, man. If anybody could write about Joshi as a put a Joshi book out, it would be you. Like that's
I appreciate that.
Just throwing that out there.
Oh, don't make me inspire myself to write a book. I'll be
no, sorry, I'm a teacher. I have to inspire people. Like, that's what I do.
Yeah, I need Ryan. Talk me down real quick. Hurry up.
Okay. You have the I can't think of.
I appreciate that. Thank you. You could have been quick with that. I would have been quick in talking somebody.
Well, hold on. All right. Well, again, Gaijin Kickstarter May 6th. Check it out. We'll obviously tweet it out and everything on all of our socials when the Kickstarter launches. So definitely
retweet all the stuff.
Sorry, repost. We'll repost everything when it's available.
What's it called now?
I think so.
Yeah.
I actually didn't know that. All right, sorry.
Nobody.
Well,
does.
it's because everyone still calls it tweets.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is an old graphic here, but I still have the Twitter logo on this one. I didn't change it.
Good, keep it. Fuck Elon Musk, man.
Baby. Let's get into it, baby. So we got a lot of wrestling also to talk about. Windy City Riot, Dynasty, but I honestly think, and we'll just rip off the Band-Aid first, I guess. I don't think we can talk about either of those shows without talking about the AEW Dynamite episode last week that aired the CM Punk, Jack Perry, all in backstage fight footage. This was the big talking point coming out of the week. It's so big that you can't ignore it. So we got to talk about this stuff. JD, what are your thoughts? I'm sure you've already talked about it on the Mike and JD show, but what are your thoughts on the CM Punk, Jack Perry brawl in footage?
So when we had it in our show, I did a little bit and I was pretty proud of myself. I talked about how much I loved the episode and how great the episode was and how much it meant to me. And Mike's like, you really like Dynamite? I said, no, I was talking about X-Men 97 this week. Dynamite was terrible.
Are you watching it? Are you watching it?
Oh yeah, every week. It's like the best show on TV. It's phenomenal.
I talked to Scotty last week and he hasn't watched it yet. I don't know if you watched it since, Scotty, but
I watched episode 1.
Oh, it gets really good.
It picks up, baby. It picks up so much. It's so good. Anyways, you were saying.
I was telling Mike, I'm like, I'd much rather talk about X-Men than pro wrestling right now because at least X-Men is fun, even when everyone dies. So I mean, like, I don't know, man. I watched this and I'm like, at first, like, they got to have something, right? They got to have something. Why else would you do this unless you have something? And then, like, I don't know, like a minute before I tweeted out, there's no way this isn't a disaster. And then I watched I watched it and I'm like, yep, disaster. So I mean, like, I thought it was like, here's my thought, and this is like I kind of litigated this on my Twitter feed. I feel like this is a litmus test, right? I feel like this is a Rorschach test. I think this confirms everything you thought about CM Punk and the Young Bucks beforehand, right? Yeah. If you're a Punk fan, you see a guy laying down justice and being knocking around a snot-nosed Punk. If you think CM Punk's a dick, you go, man, what a piece of shit. He's out there just hard in trouble. Like, you just see what you want to see with it. Yeah. Nothing is confirmed. Everything is confirmed, I should say, but there's no answers and you can't hear anything. Like, I mean, I call it a fight. Like, it looked like two dudes who never been in a fight in their lives. So I don't know, man. I thought it was stupid. I thought it was useless. I thought it added nothing to the television. I thought it derailed the show completely. Like, I was checked out afterwards because all I wanted to do was read about it and make Mike and I was saying that too. Was Mike just wanted to, share memes and make jokes. And I was just like, for the last 3 months, I felt much better about Dynamite because AEW was in such a bad place at the end of last year. Yeah, and it's been
MJF. Sorry.
Yeah, thanks. Way to go, Max. Like, and now since New Year, since like the tournament, it's felt better. It's felt like it's found itself again. And then it's been slipping a little bit, but not bad. And then this particular week, it was like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing now. Mm-hmm. All right. Mm-hmm. If it was entertaining, if it showed me something, if it led to anything, I could let it slide. But in reality, it was a disaster, and you knew they knew it was a disaster by doing copyright strikes. And I have a quick story for you guys that I'll share later in the show about certain people and how they feel about it.
Oh, lovely.
I will say though, it was in the copyright strikes though. Wasn't that like found to be like someone not associated with AEW?
I have no idea. I didn't see that. I just saw they were throwing out copyrights. So I assumed it was from AEW.
I just know they didn't put it on the YouTube video that they uploaded.
I know for a fact. I watched
a lot.
I watched that YouTube video this morning and it was not in there. I was trying to show it to my wife and I was just like, she's like, oh, I didn't see it. I was like, oh, here it is. Not on YouTube. I got to go find somebody else posting it.
Here it isn't.
Here it isn't.
Yeah.
Scotty, what do you think about the footage?
I was let down. I wanted there to be so much more. I don't know why. Like, it's because of how people talked about it. You know, they made it sound like it was this grand fight, and instead it was exactly what Samoa Joe said it was, which was, oh yeah, it's just like it was a little thing, not really a big deal. And then we should have just listened to Samoa Joe. AEW is better because we listened to Samoa Joe.
Mhm.
Why did I not listen to Samoa Joe? The only benefit out of this for anyone is probably Jack Perry, as I saw on Friday night. And, maybe that is the one bright side of all this, because it didn't do anything else for me. Like JD said, if you like CM Punk, it's not going to change your opinion whatsoever. If you hate CM Punk, it's not going to change your opinion whatsoever. And that's it. And no sound sucked. Like, I'm just going to be honest, like, no sound. And I don't know why I expected sound, but I did. And just like watching them just go face to face, Chris Hero running away in shock,
Horror.
Yeah, I was like, I feel like I watched nothing. I feel like I just watched a disagreement between two. Obviously, second time putting his hands on someone, that's why I was fired. Yada yada yada. But like looking at it in the purpose of why it was posted, I understood they turned it into story.
Tried,
yeah. Which I think it's only going to help for Jack Perry at the end of the day. It just, I it didn't do anything for me. And that episode was bad, so that didn't help either. Like, it was a bad episode of Dynamite. And I don't like when, the TV show's bad. I mean, I watched like part of Collision yesterday. It was really good. Well, not yesterday. I think I watched it like midnight, but
It's like Saturday, Saturday Night Live, where like it's on Saturday,
essentially like just move on. Act like that didn't even happen almost. I mean, they can't, because Jack Perry's going to walk back in the door in a week. But I would love if we just act like it didn't happen. Kind of like we did for the past however months. Since
7 months.
Left. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I guess for the interest of the show, I'll try to take an opposite opinion just so we have contrast here.
Hey, I said it was good for Jack Perry.
No, I know. I think that's fine. I think that it was good, and here's why. I'm trying to contrast, Scotty. Well, here's the thing: is like I disagree with the conceit that that we should have expected a big thing. Even I watched the YouTube video, like I said right before we started. The things the Young Bucks say right before the thing is, this is going to look like a high school scrap, but the bigger thing is going to be a thing. The idea of like the setup of all they said to build up to this footage release was, on Saturday we're going to show the footage, and then right before they show the footage they said this is just going to look like a high school scrap, which I think most people would say is two people that don't look like they know how to fight. I think that's how we would all describe a high school scrap. The fact that we as viewers, as reviewers, as media people, out of yada, 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 all assumed it would be something bigger, or more importantly, that we all assumed some sort of smoking gun for CM Punk and whatever his story is, his camp is saying, is on us, right? Mm-hmm. Because they didn't say it was going to be anything different. They even said it was going to be nothing. And that the bigger thing, after they said it was going to be a high school scrap, was what came out of it, what the resolution of this whole thing was. I agree that it was a great thing for Jack Perry, and it was proven for on Windy City Riot, on that crowd in Chicago.
Chicago, of course.
Yeah, that was a big time moment for the guy. And I'll also say, look, I'll make this grand argument, right? And stay with me. This is my devil's advocate argument for why to show the footage. So, obviously, because the Punk interview happens on Tuesday and they announced that following Saturday, they're going to air the footage, right? The assumption is that this is some sort of retaliation to CM Punk, and they took, until Saturday to do that. I will also respond to that, say, they could have maybe announced that on Wednesday, but, maybe it could have taken forever. But what else had to happen on Saturday before you announced that you're going to air the footage? The Young Bucks have to win on Dynamite on Wednesday. FTR has to win on Saturday on Collision. it's not until FTR wins on Saturday where you can say, yeah, we can show the footage. Now, there's the other aspect of maybe they were deciding whether or not to show the footage or whatnot, but the angle that came out of it, that they sort of surrounded the footage in, both in the Young Bucks speaking and the FDR's, do we gotta show this promo afterwards, is that they're sort of setting up this personal rivalry built around All In, about the All In CM Punk connection of it all, built around this whole thing. They're trying to establish a personal connection of hatred, let's say, between FTR and the Young Bucks. Do they need to do that? I don't know. Do they need to do that by showing the footage? Probably not. But what it also does, as Scotty pointed out, that it brings in and ties in Jack Perry into this whole thing. The only way you can really tie in Jack Perry into an FTR Young Bucks match is kind of through this footage, I think. So you can only really show the footage to establish and build sympathy for a character named the Scapegoat, a name that I would say is inherently somewhat sympathetic as a name. Any scapegoat.
7 months off of AEW television.
Sure. But this idea of like a scapegoat is essentially kind of a sympathetic character. They're the person taking the blame for everything, right? They're the lightning rod, right? So in some ways, sympathetic character, but also gets his ass kicked. But this idea of the only way you can really tie in and get that heat and get that moment at Windy City Riot is by showing the footage. You don't really get that, I think. I mean, you probably get some of it in Chicago for sure, but I don't think you get
Chicago. You get it, I think, either way.
No matter what, I think it's in Chicago. But it was in everybody's heads and in everybody's hearts, so much so that they were willing to screech and yell and call out various chants for Jack Perry. So I think in terms of things, it was a positive. It gave more heat to Jack Perry. It built up a personal connection between FTR and Young Bucks by throwing in Jack Perry as well. And look, I guess the question I have is, were they going to show it even if CM Punk didn't have the interview? I think that's my question. I think it's very easy that they wouldn't have, and this was all part of the retaliation. But I think it's also fair to say they weren't going to announce this until FTR wins on Saturday. So why announce it then? Why not announce it earlier? Well, maybe it's because this was the plan. This is what they were going to do. And if anything, maybe there's an alternate reality where AEW starts this and not quote unquote CM Punk with the Hawani interview. That'll be my other side of the fence by me by myself on the other side of the fence. What do you guys think?
I don't think Tony Khan's that good at long-term planning.
Ooh, there we go. There we go. All right. Why is that?
Because it seems like everything's kind of thrown together in a lot of cases now. It seems like it doesn't seem like when the company started, we had like a long-term vision for things. It feels like over the last 18 months or so, maybe even longer, that's not what we do anymore. Right. And Tony is notoriously gotten to with this stuff. He just is like, dude's terminally online. He doesn't handle these things well. This totally feels like a happy coincidence. Let's just say that it wound up working that way. I don't think, because they don't win anything by showing that footage anyway. But I truly think that, and here's, so I have a friend who texted me to tell me that that Tony Khan reached out to a specific wrestling journalist to tell him, see, this is why I had to do this, and use the Jack Perry reaction to justify that.
Oh, the Windy City Riot.
The Windy City Riot reaction was like, see, it had to be done. And it was like, okay, bro, like you're in one of the hottest wrestling markets in the world with someone that's going to be hated by this crowd. And I'll be honest with you, the crowd was more split than I thought they would be. Mm-hmm. I thought there would be nothing but CM Punk chants. There was a couple, but it didn't last very long. Mm-hmm. Like it was far more focused on the heat on Perry, right? Than really like, people like vehemently defending Punk. But, that being said, I think that crowd was just having fun with it.
Sure.
But I don't think that this was I don't think they do this if Punk doesn't go out there and go out of his way to be a hypocrite, to be CM Punk. Like Joe Lanza said it best, CM Punk lives by a code of ethics that he doesn't himself live by. Right? He expects everyone else to adhere to these ethics, but he himself does nothing like it.
Yeah, you talked about unreliable narrators in your book.
The number one, man. He is wrestling's number one unreliable narrator, wrestling's number one preeminent victim. Like the world is always, and I'm a huge CM Punk fan, but I mean, you can't ignore that he always has. It's part of what drives him. It's part of what makes some like high motivated people tick, is they have to feel like the world is against them. They have to feel like they're fighting something. And that's totally CM Punk. Like he always feels like he's being persecuted. Right.
Mhm.
And like, that's just part of it. Like, there's no reason he had to go after what he's done. I mean, like, he's been triple and double down. Like, he's making fun of Will Ospreay for getting a tattoo. It's like, dude, you of all people are making fun of someone for getting a spur of the moment tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what kind of hypocrite are you? Like, that's why I just don't. But I mean, like, Tony Khan's those guys too. Tony Khan doesn't like to be wrong. Like, he doesn't like to be shown up. So I really think, I think he thought this because he was there. Right, because he felt it in the moment, and because sound, like auditorially speaking, Ryan, you're a film guy, you understand that audio makes a huge impact in how we feel about something, and the fact that we couldn't hear the tension build, I think takes away from what a viewer can see with it. But he was there in the moment, so his brain goes, "Look how bad Punk looks in this." You know, to someone who's not there, they're like, "It's not good," you know, but it doesn't come off necessarily terrible. So, I mean, like, I truly believe this was him reacting to Punk on Helwani, especially because it's Helwani. Yeah. Because that was one of the worst interviews I've ever seen in my life. Like, Ariel Helwani was remarkably unprofessional in that Tony Khan interview. Like, the way that the media jumps for Nick Khan is just astounding to me. Like, he's the greatest hire WWE has ever had. He's better than Hulk Hogan at this point. Right? Like, the way he's able to manipulate his puppets in the mainstream media is remarkable, quite frankly. And Tony doesn't have that. So I think that he feels like he has to be on the defensive all the time.
And he has fair reason to be on the defensive.
He does. I don't think he's wrong.
All the time.
Yeah. He had the audacity to try to do something different. And he talks a little bit. You know, he does have that challenger brand mindset. Do I think they need to pull back and worry about themselves a little bit more? Yeah, I do.
Sure.
Right. Like, I think that 2 years ago it was different. They were chasing, they were catching. Now there's a little bit more distance, and like the product has suffered a bit, and they were doing really well. But at the same time, like, I feel like between Levesque and between Punk, I feel like they felt like they had to say something this week because WWE took quite a few shots this week.
They did.
We didn't talk about.
You don't want to be a punching bag.
No, you can't be a punchback. You have to fight back. And Tony's usually pretty good at clapping back online. Like, he's pretty witty. Yeah. Like, his Twitter feed's usually pretty funny. It's just this one in particular, it's not great. Like, I love Mike Gilbert, but Mike Gilbert knows that if he puts a weird looking Tony Khan emoji or a weird looking Tony Khan face on our YouTube clips, right, it's going to get a bazillion hits because, you know, people, and we're not those guys, but he knows it's going to get a ton of hits because there's so many people that have so many opinions on Tony Khan, all based on the fact that he tried to stand against WWE. And there's so many nerds that grew up in a post WCW world that are vehemently angry that someone tried to do something different and will hate them. And there's money around the grift. Like, you get pieces of shit like Eric Bischoff and these guys. I mean, I'm vehemently against these grifters. I don't like a lot of them. I don't like the people that enable them. Like, and so I have no problem calling them out and telling what they are, because I don't give a crap about my spot in the space, quote unquote. Sure. I don't care. I don't need any of these people to be my friends.
You're an author. You don't need wrestling. You're an author.
It's my hobby, dude. Like, and I'm an author. I'm a teacher. Like, and I have no problem saying John Alba's a terrible human being because he enables Eric Bischoff, or did for, you know, a better part of a year, and got nothing out of it for himself. Like, so I don't have a problem calling. This is me. This isn't you guys saying this. This is me. I have no problem being the asshole. I'm not in this space. I think that there's too many people in this space that make a living trying to vehemently stand against the one company that's made wrestling better in the last 20 years. And if you're that guy, you know, you're a horrendous human being. And Jim Cornette is a horrendous human being. And that's his appeal. Like, that's how he's built. That's how he's built his brand for the last 20 years. So I can't be mad at a tiger for being a tiger. I can tell you the rest of these guys are nothing but shitheads, right? Like, and that's the problem. And Tony Khan lets them get to him too much. And this is an example of it. Show, because we're not talking about the show, which probably for the best wasn't a good show. But I mean, like, this is all we're talking about is like this stupid footage that looks. And I'm a teacher. I've seen way worse fights than this. I should say I've seen way better fights than that. I'm like, these shots are terrible. Like, you could bring some 15-year-olds in here to show you how to throw a punch. Like, it's it's sick.
That got me good. I do want to say, on like back to the footage, I remember going into it and I was like, all right, so the idea of airing this is like either Punk's gonna look awful or Jack Perry might accidentally look awful, and I was like, how did I leave this video not feeling any different about either of these two human beings?
I think it's just, like I said, I think it's because they were there, like Tony Khan specifically. And I believe, like, oh, he feared for his life. I totally believe it. CM Punk might not be a great fighter, but he would beat the shit out of Tony Khan. I think we can all agree on that. Tony Khan's a small dude.
Yeah.
Like,
we are assuming he screamed at him behind that.
I'm going to assume that. I think it's a safe assumption.
But we don't want to obviously.
We don't want to
put that out there.
But I truly believe that in that moment he was afraid. Why wouldn't he be? Like, he can't. Was he going to fight CM Punk? Like, come on, man. Like,
he was like lunging and pointing and screaming at that, probably.
I completely believe in the moment he felt like that, because he's not a fighter, nor should he be. Like, right? I mean, this again. I think that people were trying. People like, oh, Devon Dudley of all people saying, well, there's no one telling him no. Well, who's going to listen? You worked for Vince. No one told him no, and people did tell Vince no, and he just kept going, didn't he? Didn't we learn that recently? So, I mean, like, when it's your company and you're the boss, people can tell you no all you want, but you ain't going to listen if you think you're right.
You sort of mentioned it a little bit, but I want to talk about here. It's the CM Punk footage, assuming that it is a quote-unquote clapback to CM Punk, right? Not the only clapback to WWE on that episode. Immediately following the footage, you got the Will Ospreay promo where he's clapping back to Triple H.
Going back to back made it worse.
I agree 100%. But the timing was terrible.
Yes, I agree with that. But what are your thoughts on there? It felt like you were about to say, JD, that you were pro Will Ospreay talking about Triple H.
I don't like Triple H. I'm a fan of the 90s and 2000s. The Reign of Terror pushed me away from being a fan. I've never cared for him, and has that tainted my feelings toward him as an executive? Yes. So I don't. I will admit my bias, but I don't. I mean, let's talk about raging egomaniacs. Like, wasn't WrestleMania just a celebration of Paul Levesque where we all had to genuflect in his direction?
I'm sorry, you mean the Triple H era? You mean the beginning of the Triple H era?
Can you believe this egomaniac has tacked his own name to it as a book? Vince didn't even do that. Like, at least Vince had the decency, I know clearly I just said that, to not just say this is the McMahon era of professional wrestling. Like, he at least used the company name, not this guy. This guy wants everyone to know it's all about me. It's all about him. Cody Rhodes, the Throne Smasher himself, he makes this guy bow and show respect like he's the fucking Pope out there. Like, the level, the imposter syndrome that Paul Levesque must possess to make sure that everyone knows this is about him, and to take every opportunity to make sure people know that this whole thing, all this success is all about me, just astounds me. So the fact that he took the time to shit on Will Ospreay because, let me get this straight, he wanted to make more money for doing less work and live at home. And somehow Will Ospreay is the bad guy for saying fuck you, right?
And for notable guy that beat himself up for the past 5 years in a New Japan ring, specifically.
And that's what I'm saying, is you're going to talk about being a grinder. Well, like, find me someone who's been flying around the planet and having these amazing matches more than Will Ospreay. But that's the thing, is that, like, the Nick Khan media army, Triple H goes on to the Pat McAfee show, and Brian Alvarez can sit there and say, well, it wasn't on Raw. Yeah, more people watched it. More people watch Pat McAfee than watch Raw. So, I mean, now they get to control the narrative. And this is why, and this is what I'm saying, is like, now all of a sudden, the grifters, the Bischoffs of the world, your Julian Weekses, your nerds, are going to say, oh, yeah, Will Ospreay didn't want to grind. Will Ospreay's not that tough. Will Ospreay didn't want to make less money for more work and family around the planet. Like, that's the narrative now. So I get Will Ospreay doing it, and Will Ospreay, pretty good promo. Like, and what did he say? Tell me when he's telling lies.
Pop, that's real.
I mean, like, what did he say that wasn't correct?
Yeah, I know. No, I actually had like zero problem with the Ospreay promo, and I think most people talk about the footage anyway, so like it's almost like the Ospreay promo was like flew over their heads. Like that's the type of response that I'm okay with, though. You know, like this is a guy calling him out because he made a decision. So like that's personal. You know, that's not AEW versus WWE. That is Will Ospreay against Triple H. So I have really no problem with that, especially because of, like we said, all the work he's put in over the past couple of years. Like trying to say him of all people didn't have the grind is laughable, right? It's like you said, like last year alone, he went from like Rev Pro to New Japan to TNA to Australia to some random company in like Germany or something that, you know, I just remembering what matches did he get rave reviews about in what countries, and then of course going to America and Canada, like the list goes on and on and on. Like I never had a problem with that, so I do want to say that, like, so like while go ahead, Scott. I thought you were done. While the footage is like meh, and I think it left a lot of people like, and again, I think there's a conversation to be had that maybe we hyped it up a little bit too much in our own minds. It's still, I wouldn't have aired it. We'll see how it works for Jack Perry, though. Like I said, if Jack Perry can take what he did in Chicago on Friday night and turn that into an actual run, because I know all three of us have talked about Jack Perry on our very shows and how unsuccessful he's been. If he could turn that into success, then there's at least one bright spot from it.
I was a day one Jack Perry hater.
Yeah, you have notably hated Jack Perry forever.
And I'll tell you this much. He is currently in my number one spot on the pillar rankings right now.
Most interested, right?
The most interested pillar right now in AEW is easily Jack
helps.
Perry.
One's hurt, and two are hurt. Two are hurt. The other three are hurt technically. Is Guevara hurt?
No, I thought he got suspended. I don't remember.
Suspended. His feelings are hurt.
Well, go ahead, JD.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I had a point. I forgot it. Scott did a great job.
Well, the reason I brought up the Will Ospreay stuff as well is because kind of what we're talking about here. The where is the sort of line on the different reactions AEW can make towards various things, right? Both stuff we can agree. Young Bucks were a part of one thing. Will Ospreay was a part of. Tony Khan assumingly approved both of the things, right? But where's the line? Yes, but it's his show. He can approve these things. Where's the line on the appropriate responses that you can make? Most people are giving Will Ospreay positives towards his callback to Triple H and giving him positive notes for his promo. But a lot of people are giving the Young Bucks negative stuff and ultimately AEW and Tony Khan for airing the footage. What's the difference? Where's the line?
Honest to God, on a television show, things have to be entertaining. Will Ospreay was entertaining when he talked about it. Will Ospreay has turned into a really good promo, right?
And so the footage and the angle, I guess the promo stuff wasn't entertaining.
I don't think so. Were any of us entertained by it? Did any of us talk about how it made for great TV? Like I remember
the promos for the Bucks. Like I don't remember them.
Yeah, I justified it. I didn't necessarily say it was the most entertaining thing.
Right.
I get it. It did pop a quarter. You know, there's all that aspect. But
CM Punk ratings draw again. Sorry.
It's true. I guess the thing is, like, I don't think if it's entertaining, I think it's okay and it works. And I think we learned that in the 90s with WCW, WWF. Like when things were entertaining, they were okay. Like for the people that are bitching about this is all WCW stuff. It's like for years I've had to heard about how Triple H drove a tank into a Nitro. It was a Jeep and they got stopped at the door. But that's the thing though, is like people found, and again, I watched that live. It was entertaining.
Yeah,
it was entertaining in the moment. Eric Bischoff challenging Vince McMahon to a fight a week later, not entertaining.
Right.
The Nacho Man and the Huckster, not entertaining. Medusa throwing the title in the trash, entertaining.
Yeah.
I think that's the limit. Is if it makes for good TV, we'll go, yeah, sure. If it doesn't and it derails the show, which I think we all agree that the footage derailed the show, right? It didn't help anything.
Like I think that's what the Ospreay promo because I didn't even realize it happened.
I mean, yeah, I was too busy tweeting about how bad that thing was, and I'm listening to Ospreay, and I'm like, ugh, back to back. Like I think that's the problem. I think it was placed wrong in the show. Maybe they should have waited a week on it, right? It felt very the whole thing felt very reactionary. It felt very gotten to. And if I'm Will Ospreay, I'm feeling gotten to after all that. You know, so I get where, and Will Ospreay, you know, like you said, sensitive dude, you know.
Also got paid more money, reportedly, by AEW the WWE was willing to offer.
To do less work and to live at home.
Who the hell's saying no to that? What person in their right mind is saying no to that?
Someone who grew up only as a WWE fan that dreams of being at WrestleMania. That's famously not Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay likes TNA. Will Ospreay likes wrestling. Right? I want you to look. Remember when Will Ospreay first became like a thing in this country? It was the Ricochet match. That was when I think a lot of fans in this country, in the US, really discovered Will Ospreay. You tell me the career trajectory of Ricochet and the career trajectory of Will Ospreay, which guy made the right choice? Those guys were neck and neck. Ricochet probably ahead of Ospreay because he was Prince Puma at the time.
Yep.
Right. So he had more cachet in this space. I hate that phrase. Like, but you tell me who made the right career calls.
Right. Yeah. Ospreay. At least for my entertainment.
Well,
that's what I care about.
Ospreay's a millionaire and a main eventer. Ricochet has had a stump since like 2019. He hasn't gone anywhere.
Far in the chat wrote a nice comment that I think is a good summation of the Ospreay versus Bucks difference. He wrote here, Will Ospreay sold me on a pay-per-view, the Bucks versus the Bucks selling me on a pay-per-view. Both guys attempting to sell you something, but he got sold with Will Ospreay, but not on the Bucks.
That's a great phrasing.
Yeah. Ospreay's good. It's been really good since he's come over. I just want to give, like, we're talking about all the negatives of this. I will give Ospreay credit. He's done a great job since he's jumped into AEW. You know, I think there was worry by a lot of people, like, how is he going to do on TV style wrestling, right? In New Japan, it's very different, right? You could tell your stories in a very different way, and you don't have to do that many promos. And he's knocking it out of the park. I mean, don't get me wrong, being in a feud with Bryan Danielson right off the rip isn't too bad either, but he's been delivering every single time, even after what we just talked about in a promo that, like, you know, it's a clapback, but he did it well. It's just, it was right after the footage. So it hurt. It hurt him without him doing anything to himself to hurt himself. You know.
Plus, of course, the main event of Dynamite being a Rhodes versus a Samoan Joe is a little on those as well.
I didn't think of that till you just said that. That's exactly what just happened.
Yeah. That's basically funny. 3 things has happened with WWE responses in this episode.
Yeah. I had not considered that until you just pointed that out. That is exactly what happened. Wow. I think of these big signings, the AEW said the 3 big signees this year, right?
Yeah.
Ospreay's been great. Being Will Ospreay. Okada's been fantastic. We've got a new version of, like, the original Rainmaker, right? The playboy, the dickhead Okada. My favorite Okada is Dickhead Okada, and we're getting that on full display. He's just going out there and squashing dudes on Dynamite, which doesn't really happen on Dynamite all the time. So he's standing out. It's different, and he's been fantastic. Okada's been fantastic. And then there's Mercedes, who has been a big wet fart.
It's clearly hurt.
She's definitely hurt. That ankle's way, like, a buddy of mine that Mike and I refer to as the Red Mask on our show, because we don't want to reveal who he is and getting him in trouble, says, is Mercedes Brian Pillman?
Interesting.
For those of you who are too young, Brian Pillman famously signed with WWE in 1996 and essentially this wouldn't happen in today's day and age, but essentially lied his way through the interview process and how bad his ankle was. Like, Brian Pillman crushed his ankle and was never the same again. So, I mean, is that where we're at with Mercedes? Is she really this messed up? Because, like, she's never been a good promo. Promo work has never been her thing.
Yeah. And
they tried to make it better. They hired her pet writer, and on a show that had this lame-ass CM Punk footage, the worst thing I saw was Mercedes' sit-down interview.
Which was...
holy shit.
The interview was like the same promo she cut the week prior in front of the crowd with Willow, right? Like, money talks or something, a double or nothing, whatever the phrase was. Like, it was the same exact lines.
It's all very catchphrase, yeah.
And there's something about the way Mercedes delivers her lines that just lets it feel like it's very rehearsed, right? It's very much that WWE cadence that works in that company, right? But doesn't work anywhere else. Like, and it's taken a lot of people, like, not like John Moxley. He figured it out, like, immediately. He didn't even figure it out. He just went back to who he was. Like, but a lot of people will leave that company, and it takes them a little while to find themselves somewhere else. Even Adam Copeland, it took him a couple weeks to really, like, figure out who he is in AEW. And he's been great.
Sure.
He's been fantastic since coming over. Mercedes has not found herself yet, and they've given her as much leeway as they can at the moment to deliver, and it hasn't quite worked yet.
I think that's fair. We talk about it all the time on the show, the WWE rust. It's always apparent on any of these wrestlers, and it takes however long to get it off. Scotty,
I will say with Mercedes, I mean, the selling point for her is the wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
It's always been her selling point. So when she's not wrestling, it's like, what are we doing here? And the worst part is she's not wrestling for another month and a half.
Yeah.
Right? Like Double or Nothing's at the end of May. So it's like still a lot of having to do promos. And obviously I'm hoping for her, and I'm hoping that ankle isn't that bad, but there's a reason we're waiting.
Yep.
I would almost rather they just do, like, instead of putting her out there and exposing her, I would rather they put her, like, just do like behind the scenes vignettes of her, like at NBA games, at red carpet things, put her in a gala, like do that kind of stuff. Make her look like a star, because that's what she's at her best, is just looking like she projects star aura. Mm-hmm. But for some reason, when she's asked to do like pro wrestling type stuff, it really knocks her down a little bit, because it's not her strength. Her strength is like being bigger than the moment, and she hasn't had a chance to be in a moment yet. So I think they need to stop doing the pro wrestling stuff with her for right now, because like, I mean, like it was really bad last week.
I think the best thing for her right now is you play like these special videos of her coming back. Type thing, like her working in the gym, her working in the ring, her just working through those things. Because I think, like you said, I remember the video she released after she debuted at Wrestle Kingdom. I don't know if either of you watched.
I remember
that. She posted it on her YouTube channel. It was great because it was just natural. That was Mercedes Renato. That wasn't Mercedes Moné. That wasn't Sasha Banks. That was Mercedes Renato. And I think that's going to connect her more with this audience than anything else. 100%. So I have absolutely agreement, especially now that we have a destination for her first match. Show the comeback, because everyone knows she's been hurt.
Yeah.
It's funny. The people that, not everyone, but for the most part, the people in this company who get over the most are the ones that are the most real, right? Yeah. AEW is different than WWE. WWE is really good. If you can play their character, you're going to be successful. Seth Rollins had a big time career until he started pretending to be Joaquin Phoenix and the Joker. And now he's big as he's ever been. With the exception of Cody, everyone there feels very programmed. And that's what they want. They want people that are good at being being programmable, right? That's how they rear people. When you get out of that system, it's very different. People want, like, people who look for the alternative want an alternative. They want to feel like these are real people. Will Ospreay has felt like a real person. Okada's been a character, but it's felt very real and tangible. Like, that's definitely part of that dude.
We've seen Okada play that character, which helps.
Yes. Adam Copeland is not Edge. He feels like Edge sometimes, but he feels like a real guy out there doing his thing. With the exception of Christian Cage, who's playing a character, he's very good at it, though. Right? Like, that's an exception that makes the rule. Like, for the most part, the people that work in this company are the ones that speak from the heart and let you in.
Yeah.
Right. And if you don't do that, you tend to struggle in this company.
It's the idea of WWE, everybody's a character, whereas in AEW, for the most part, if you aren't a great character, for instance, like Christian Cage, you aren't doing a great character, just be yourself, and that will get you over.
There's an incredible person to look at. It's MJF's entire run in this company.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, we've seen the highs, we've seen the lows, and it's been a ride.
Those lows, baby.
But when there's highs, they're pretty high. Like, when Max is like on, his stuff is really good. Like, I'll go back.
He usually goes to real life things for that.
Yes, that's when he's at his best, is when he taps into that reality of him. The Punk feud is still one of my favorite things that they've ever done. That was just really good TV. The whole thing worked great, and Max works better as a heel. Like, there's just something about him that's just not very likable. I don't think the MJF babyface run worked. I think we all kind of agree with that. I would say, Ryan says something interesting. Like, I think in WWE, they like caricatures, right? They like to strip things down and make you one note because it's easier for you to sell. Whereas in AEW, I think you need to have character, not be a character. You need to have character. There needs to be something tangible to you. You need to be, like, in the literary sense, when I say character, I mean, like, you have to be well-rounded. You can't just be one note.
You have to be three-dimensional. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that's what I like. I like that we have different companies that have different things that make you work. Right. And it makes the program, it makes the product feel different. I think for too long in 2023, they were like, oh man, they were totally shook by the bloodline stuff. They absolutely were. And they were trying to find their version of it and trying to program everybody into these roles. And it just didn't work.
Remember very early on in the MJF stuff that someone along the way, I believe through Meltzer or whatever, said that this is their bloodline storyline, or this is their Cody thing. I just always think about that when I think of the MJF storyline of
That's
them thinking this is our bloodline. I'm like, no, it wasn't.
It was not, by the way.
But I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a second. Is that that fell with guys like us, right? True pro wrestling fans. It was a complete and total failure. I see on Twitter there are people that love that thing, and they are people that typically like WWE stuff. So their goal was to build a bridge and reach across to WWE fans, and it did not work.
Because it's not possible, because it's the whole idea of like, if I'm getting it already here, why am I going to move somewhere else? I'm already getting it through WWE.
It would work if WWE wasn't unbelievably hot. But they are unbelievably hot.
It might have worked, to be fair. It's the same idea.
Well, I'm giving them credit because like when AEW started, WWE was not hot at all.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Like, and that's the best time to make, maybe their fans at least check you out. It's like, because some people want wrestling in their lives.
Yes.
But WWE, if that wasn't giving you what you wanted, you were like, all right, let me check this out. But WWE is giving a lot of people what they want now. So
that's the problem.
And then something that JD already talked about a little bit to make my perfect transition here. If you are burnt out from a wrestling thing, it's always great to move into a different thing of wrestling. If JD's burnt out by what AEW is doing, what he's got to do is go to Windy City Riot in Chicago and have a great night and really enjoy himself.
The beauty is,
yep,
John Moxley's good in all companies that he's in.
And there's that as well. Any company he's in, it's great. So that's my transition. Let's talk about Windy City Riot. JD, you were obviously there in person. So you're going to get a lot more of that intricate knowledge than we will. We'll bring in the outstanding. Any thoughts on the outstanding commentary team of Chris Charlton, Walker Stewart, and Veda Scott, I guess. But I don't know. We'll start off. First off, there was the buy-in. Anyone watch the buy-in? JD, I don't know when you showed up.
One match from it.
There was one. We walked in the arena because I live on a good day 90 minutes from downtown, and on a Friday afternoon, that was about 2 hours 20 minutes to get in there. So because we live in rural Illinois, like rural Northwest Illinois, so it was a bit of a drive. So we didn't get there till about 6:40. So I missed the buy-in match. So I didn't see it. I don't even know who wrestled in it, to be honest with you.
Of course, the buy-in was Matt Vandegrift defeating Zane Jay in a strong survivor match. No idea what that is. And then Alex Windsor and Trisha Dora defeating Mina Shirakawa and Viva Van, with Alex Windsor picking up the win, which obviously became a bigger important thing of that match. Scotty, you said you watched that match. Any thoughts on it?
Alex Windsor's good. She's, giving her. I think a lot of people probably saw her for the first time on this show, but she's very much fit for being Vaquer's next challenger. So I was happy to see her win. Like once I saw her win, I was like, oh, well, I know where this is going. Like New Japan's very classic with their booking. All right, we're going to set someone up for this title right before it happens. It's like, it's very easy. And I mean, Mina's a star, but people are learning that elsewhere these days.
I haven't watched it. I haven't watched it yet. And Scotty, I know you did watch it. Alex Windsor had a really good, as you said, Scotty, to me, a really good dog collar match in Rev Pro about a month ago, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes, against Danny Luna, the TNA.
She took some crazy bumps. She took like a back bump on a dog cage or something. It was crazy.
How?
Yeah. God. Talk about real dog cage. Let's talk about Windy City Riot. Proper show.
It wasn't fake.
It wasn't fake. Cry Me a River. Let's talk about Windy City Riot. Opening match on the show, Ren Narita defeating Minoru Suzuki. 7 minutes.
Hey, say it right. Sold out.
My apologies. Right. NWO sold out. Ren Narita defeating Minoru Suzuki. Indie freelancer Minoru Suzuki. JD, what did you think about this opening match?
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was great. Like, there's just, I mean, Here's the thing about Suzuki. You experience Suzuki. You can't go in there and watch like you would have like even 5-6 years ago. Like you have to just feel the moment and just feel his charisma. Because like there's something about when it comes to like charisma, you got it or you don't. And Minoru Suzuki comes out there and everybody plays along. You sing Kazuni Nare, and like my kid had seen him before, but it had been a while. So I took my 8-year-old son Andy there. It was his first time going to a non-AEW show. So it went really well.
Pretty good.
Has he seen New Japan prior to this?
He's watched it with me on TV, like when there's been big shows. He's familiar with it as a thing. He went to the Forbidden when we had Forbidden Door in Chicago in 2023.
Yep.
He came with me to that show. So he's vaguely familiar with it. Like one of his favorite wrestlers is Tomohiro Ishii because we saw him wrestle Jericho on Dynamite when it was in Chicago. And Andy remembers it because Ishii was just chopping the shit out of Jericho and made Jericho's chest look like hamburger. And that is burned into my son's memory. And he will talk about that forever. And he says it's his favorite match that he's ever seen. And it's just one of those things. It's one of those things like sometimes something will stick out to you as like a fan. And that for him is like special. And he even made the comment when Tamir was wrestling Nemeth, he's like, Nick Nemeth's chest doesn't look like Chris Jericho's. It's like, yes, that's because Nemeth's bumping on those chops and not standing there and taking them like an idiot. So, I mean, he's wrestling much smarter here. Yeah, he's just dropping every time. So he won't look as bad. And he's like, it's not as cool. So like, he wanted to see bloody chests, which I respect that. But anyways,
awesome. So son's slowly becoming a smark.
Oh, there's no slow about it. I'm raising him that way. That's how we grow up in this family. But anyways, he gets Minoru Suzuki and he's clapping along and having fun with it. And like, but it's not really, even he kind of gets it in the middle of the match. He goes, Dad, New Japan matches are so much slower than AEW matches. And he's not wrong.
Yeah, he's not entirely wrong.
Like it's just the pace of the matches are a little bit different. It's more geared to get a live crowd going, not to just boom, 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 TV, action. Right. And it was the first time I thought about, boy, the two companies really do have a different style of match right now. So I mean, like I liked it. I thought it was fun. House of Torture bullshit, which as an American fan, you should experience House of Torture bullshit.
I heard
that's what New Japan is right now.
Yeah. I heard from one of my friends that was there that experiencing House of Torture like live, it works in that way better, obviously. Because Naruto was booed out of the building. It works. It works.
Scotty, as of course the Ring Post Radio being the resident House of Torture podcast, are we redeemed? Are we something? It feels like with Ren
not until Evil comes.
That's fair.
I need Evil to show up because people hate him. People hate that man. He only showed up for Io Sky in WrestleMania last week. He didn't show up for anything else. So
we had some guy try to start a chant of "You're worse than evil" to Ren Narita. It was entertaining. The guy stood up with his totally quiet. He goes, "We hate you more than evil." Like it was
as a chant too long, my guy.
Oh, I agree. That's why it didn't work. It's like people are like, no, we're not chanting.
We hate you more than evil.
Some guy stood up and said that. That made me laugh actually. But yeah, I feel like watching House of Torture live is different than witnessing the House of Torture on TV, where that just is torture. But like when you're there, it just feels different. Sometimes we forget that New Japan is a live event product more so than a TV show. So I mean, like they really gear their shows for the fans in the arena more so than the people watching at home.
They sell a lot of merch, those House of Torture guys.
They do. They're over. People don't want to talk about that. House of Torture is over in Japan. Not here.
Not here at all.
We'll talk about it, JD. We talk about it every time. These guys are over.
They are. People don't like it. People don't like saying it, but like it works. Is it God awful?
River t-shirt sold out. Top selling shirt in New Japan.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm the guy over here that's been pushing for House of Torture invading Forbidden Door. I've been pushing that the agenda for weeks.
I got bad news, man. I think that might happen. I think that's a reality.
That sounds great. I'm into it.
I mean, Evil
John
getting
Moxley
his
versus
comeuppance
Evil,
on
obviously.
Okay,
Moxley
no,
versus
no,
Evil.
Ho. That's not what we agreed upon, Ryan. We did
Whoa.
not agree upon that. We said one big tag. That's it.
I said House of Torture versus BCC, Shota Umino, that sort of thing. Maybe
People
LIJ
that-
in there.
Let's not say things we can't take back. Like,
Yeah. You don't want the Moxley Evil main event for Forbidden Door. No. But yeah, I thought the match did its job. It was the right opener.
It was a solid opener. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Next match up here was the New Japan Strong Women's title match. Stephanie Vaquer successfully defends her title against Azumi in 10 minutes and 50 seconds. Scotty, will go to you, of course. What do you think about this New Japan Strong? And what do you think about Azumi in her, I guess, third appearance in the States?
It's Azumi. Do you think it was AZM?
I'm saying Azumi.
No, I'm talking about JD.
I thought it was Azumi.
It's Azumi.
And he said Azumi? And I was like, was I wrong? I thought it was Azumi.
I've been saying Azumi on this show for years. Is it not? Scotty,
I always say it's Azumi. I always say it when I say her name. I just kind of let it go.
Interesting.
Anyways, I thought they did a great job. I think Azumi, with her 2 big matches this weekend, did a great job. She also got the best timeless Toni Storm match ever. Again, maybe not saying a lot, but she did. She made Toni Storm wrestle like Toni Storm. But this match, I think Stephanie Vaquer is a superstar. I've been saying it time and time again, and it's shocking that she's not involved more in the US than just these New Japan Strong shows. I feel like if you're, clearly she has her visa. If you're AEW, you bringing her in for any showing, because we know they have the relationship with CMLL now. So I'm hoping that eventually happens, but she's a star. She should be the champion moving forward. And they had a really fun 10-minute match. Like, it was, as Ryan, you like to say, intense and fast-paced. It was everything a Azumi match often is. And they did everything they could in 10 minutes. When women have matches on these New Japan shows, it's always about the timing and how much time do they have, and they made the most of their time. No minute was wasted between these two. And when Azumi hit the stomp on the outside, it was great. Like, people got a good pop out of that. So, like, she made a lot of fans this weekend. And honestly, as someone that obviously cares about the Joshi wrestlers, I'm very happy she did that. She's only 21 years old, but she's been wrestling for 10 years. She's wrestled for 10 years.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this match. I think this is my second favorite match of the show. Like Scotty knows, this was a match. I love wrestlers. I figured out my peak wrestler is a combination of speed and intensity. And what this match was, speed versus intensity. Wrestler. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I love Will Ospreay. One of the reasons I'm high on Kyle Fletcher is there's speed and intensity there. And this match was speed versus intensity, I would say, with Azumi, whatever. Azumi doing the speed, Vaquer with the intensity. I thought this match was a perfect combination of wrestlers, and like I said, it was probably my second favorite match of the show.
I'm very famously, I have Scott on my show whenever I need to talk about Joshi, because I'm very famously, not an anti-Joshi guy, just like, you can't consume everything, right? Sure. And Joshi's one of my blind spots. So I know the names of Stephanie Vaquer and Azumi, so I've heard these names for a while now. My first time watching either of them actually work, and I was super impressed. I think Vaquer is awesome. Like, I love the intensity. I was really impressed with Azumi. I remember she came out. I'm like, oh, now I get to see what this is all about. I had a great time with the match. I really enjoyed it. I want to see, more of the stateside women work this pace and this style. Like, I think it would make for more entertaining wrestling. Failed the 8-year-old test. The 2 girls came out, and Andy goes, give me your phone. And I'm like, fine, whatever. Here you go. Play with my phone. Like,
well, that's a real smart leaving during the women's match.
I know. And I'm not even that guy. I'm not trying to raise my kid that way. I'm really not. But I mean, like, he just, when girls wrestle, he just checks out. Like, he's just not there yet. And we're working on it. We're working on opening him up a little bit. I don't want him to be this way. You just got to get.
He'll get there. He'll get there.
Don't worry. It's not like he's against girls in sports. His workout partner in wrestling is a girl, and she beats his ass all the time. So I mean, like, she's really good though. So I mean, like, but we had a good time. I thought it was great. I want to see more Stephanie Vaquer wrestling in the U.S. I want to see. I wonder if I wonder if the language barrier is a problem because I'm assuming she does not speak much English.
No, I don't believe so.
No idea.
Yeah, so I think maybe that's working against her because I think she's got a great look. Like she
Yeah.
comes out there with the Maleficent horns, and I'm like, she's got a vibe to her. Like I dig it. So I want to see more of her in the US. She really impressed me. I came out of this a big Stephanie Vakira fan.
I watched her for a couple of years, and I've seen her like become this, and she's got it now. Like she's got the full package. She's also the last person to pin Julia. Just saying, which is an accomplishment in itself these days.
They showed that on the screen. I don't know if that was on the pay-per-view, but we all got to see that before.
Which was very funny because Julia doesn't lose. It's not gonna work for me, brother. And all that stuff. But I think she's great. So I'm hoping that they believe
Forbidden Door is happening with Stephanie Vakira. That's my assumption.
I think it has to. I mean, I would put her and Athena on a card instantly and never look back.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
For Athena, main roster AEW?
Buddy, she was on Battle of the Belts, not the
Battle of the Belts.
She was on Battle of the Belts. That was an AEW product.
Oh, okay. Battle of the Belts. What a big time show over here. Anyways, but yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if we see Stephanie Vakira pop up in Forbidden Door, especially if we get some of that CMLL interaction.
I do like that everything's like, oh, you know what? Push it to Forbidden Door. We'll see you there.
We'll put the exciting stuff on Forbidden Door. New Japan Strong Openweight Tag Team Title 4 Corners match. TMDK, Mikey Nichols and Shane Hayes end up getting the win by defeating the West Coast Wrecking Crew, Guerrillas of Destiny 2.0, and the team of Fred Rosser and Tom Lawler. JD, what did you think of this match?
Enjoyed it a lot. Filthy Tom's a buddy. Like I like him a lot. I love watching him work. He's one of my favorite non-AEW wrestlers right now. So I thought it was a fun match. It was less chaotic than I expected it to be. To be honest with you, I thought it was gonna be a lot of chaos with the four teams. It wasn't. It was pretty well worked match. The post New Japan could be sometimes booked so 70s like pro wrestling, 80s, 70s, 80s pro wrestling. Yeah. And like the angle after with cutting Tom Lawler's hair and shoving it down Fred Rosser's throat, just like that is the essence of professional wrestling to me. Rosser took a bump on the concrete that I was in the not the front row like on the ground, but the front row of the first row seat. And I heard a thud, and I thought that Rosser had a concussion. Like I didn't have a great direct line of sight, but I heard it sounded like bone on concrete, and I buckled. So I mean, there was some really good selling going on in that because I bit big time on that. I thought he was dead. And then when they shoved the hair down his throat, I'm like, man, that's good pro wrestling right there. Like I was a big fan of that whole thing.
Yeah, that's not just like a big old time angle here with cutting off the hair and everything. That's a repeat, quote unquote, angle or a callback angle to when Tom Lawler cut off Fred Rosser's hair, and I believe Tom Lawler ate it or something, or maybe he fed it to Fred Rosser. I have this image of Tom Lawler eating.
Someone ate hair.
Someone ate hair. That's all that matters.
Enough to me.
Not like Tommy Dreamer.
I like the idea of Tom Lawler eating the hair back then, and then eating it again here. And we're obviously getting a continuation with West Coast Wrecking Crew versus Lawler and Rosser. Scotty, any thoughts on TMDK winning some tag titles? Are you excited with them having the strong tag team championships?
I'm more excited Hikuleo and El Fantasma lost. So take that.
That opens up Hikuleo for this contract in June for WWE.
Time to be part of the bloodline, buddy.
So I hear there's a spot in the bloodline.
I think everyone that even remotely related to that family sees them like, oh, they're taking everyone. All right, my time to shine. Good for TMDK. As they like to call them for the longest time, the best New Japan tag team that never held tag team gold in the company. Now they have gold titles that I don't think need to exist anymore, but gold nonetheless.
It's a silver medal. We'll take it. It's quite literally silver, right? If I'm not mistaken.
It is silver and blue.
The B team tag titles, the for my old school fans, the WCW US tag team title version. That's
fair. It's pretty much exactly what they are. To a T. They just say strong instead of US.
Next up, Shota Umino versus Jack Perry, with Shota Umino getting the win. Obviously, JD, I got to go to you first. Talk about that entrance.
Man, you just want to talk about nuclear. I was saying that I got a buddy from Boston, actually, my buddy George O'Connor.
Oh.
Yeah, he's got a Kickstarter running for his comic book Vampires on Mars. You should check that out. So he flew out to Chicago and we hung out. It's the first time we've seen each other in a couple of years. It was great.
Mhm.
And I was like, this is gonna be nuclear when Perry comes out. I said, like, this city is like weirdly, I said we're in a very toxic relationship with CM Punk. Like, it's very unhealthy, but it's a real thing. So he comes out there, right? And people are just booing the shit out of him. And then the man comes out draped in the Chicago flag, which again, I don't know how other cities are with their flags, but in Chicago, people take that really seriously. Like, it's really a serious thing here. And he took off the flag and had the Crimea River coat. And my kid still loves Jungle Boy. So he was getting mad. So he's like, let's go get something to drink. I'm like, all right, let's go. So he was getting angry because he has fond memories of, he was not happy. But I'm just listening. You could just hear it as I'm walking up the stairs. I'm like, man, if this dude can find a way to play into this, he might actually have something. And by the time we got back to our seats, it was just a great match, right?
Yeah.
Like, Shota Umino he really has developed into a really great babyface.
Mhm.
Like, he's
got that, Ryan.
He's got good fire, man. He really does. Like, and he was a perfect opponent tonight for Jack Perry. And yeah, that was great when he did that. Crowd ate that shit alive. And like, I was surprised about halfway the match. I mentioned before, like, how it wasn't all pro CM Punk. I thought for sure we would just get inundated with CM Punk chants, and we got a couple, but not really. Because I think most of the New Japan fans are there to watch New Japan and don't want to be involved in this, but they're playing along and having fun. To that said, this was the most charismatic I've ever seen Jack Perry wrestle. He showed more personality and more character work, and was eating it up as a heel, just eating that shit alive. And when he called for the go to sleep,
perfect.
Beautiful. My buddy texted me. He goes, you know what they should have done is Perry should have hit the go to sleep and got a 1 count and have Umino kick out. And I'm like, yes, dude, they fucked that up. They should have done that. But I mean, like, because in that moment, I'm watching Perry. I'm like, he may have figured it out. He may have figured it out. Now, is that just a special case because it's Chicago and we're willing to play ball? Or has he finally found what he was missing? I don't think we'll know until he goes back to AEW. But for the first time in a long time, I saw promise with Jack Perry.
There were 2 stars created from that CM Punk Jack Perry footage that I think. Number 1, Chris Hero. Easy peasy.
Memeable.
A memeable star has been born. And number 2, based off of this interaction, that footage elevated Jack Perry so much more in this crowd that, again, the fact that you watch that footage and then sort of expect CM Punk footage, but able to get a bigger mixture than you think, not even just a bigger mixture, but as you said, sort of more leaning into the Jack Perry of it all, showcases that there is something here potentially. There is, and not only that, but I was watching this match, and Scotty knows because I was messaging him. Jack Perry could now do like the running high knee into a GTS for the next 20 years and get heel heat from it. Probably. He could probably come to Chicago for the next 20 years and probably get booed in this building. They are based off that footage alone. It could probably get decades of heat for this guy in this city. Now, you're completely right, JD. Will that translate to other cities? Will that translate to potentially St. Louis next week? That's the test. That's the ultimate test for Jack Perry.
It reminded me of Shawn Michaels in Montreal. Like, that guy would get booed in Montreal probably today. If he walked out in the Molson Center in Montreal, people would be like, that guy. Right. It's been 26 years. People still hang on to that. Like, I just want to see what happens. I want to see if it can translate. I want to see if it was just one night, because we see that sometimes. For one night, everything just comes together and it works. It's a question right now.
I also learned watching this that, maybe putting a guy on excursion in Japan isn't a bad idea for AEW.
That's a great call, Scott.
I think it works a lot for these guys to experience different crowds and experience different reactions. And, New Japan played ball. They put him in House of Torture for his little run there, and that's the most hated group in the world. And the idea was let's have him have his big match in our company in Chicago. Let's work off real life situations. They didn't need that footage to air for it to work. You know, I could say a lot of things about Gato these days, but the one thing he did right was the Jack Perry booking of it all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have him beat Shota Umino by cheating with House of Torture, and that makes him hated instantly in Japan. And now he closes out his time in New Japan by putting over Shota, which is great, obviously, and also getting booed out of the building. And it was the match, like the work itself, very simple, very basic, hit all the right notes, but the atmosphere brings it up.
Yeah.
And it helped both Jack Perry and Shota Umino as a result. They both knew how to play to it to a T.
Dude, you're so right. I think we have to stop looking at this as a suspension for Jack Perry, right? Because I know Brian Albert said he suspended. You have to look at this as an excursion.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This is a learning excursion. This is what we've been asking for since this relationship started in 2021, I think is when it started. Like, we've been wanting to see this. We've been wanting to see more AEW young guys go to Japan where they can learn, where they can work more, where they can experience different environment. And I think that we saw growth in Jack Perry.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see more of this down the line. I do. I think it worked. I think on the whole, this was a very noble experiment.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, Mustafa Ali versus Hiromu Takahashi, with Mustafa Ali getting the win in a turned out to be a very bloody affair against Hiromu Takahashi. Scotty, what do you think about this match?
Daryl Jr. was the star of the match.
My guy comes out yoked.
Isn't necessarily a good thing for the other two.
Sure.
A cat stuffed animal was the star of the match. It was a weird match. Wasn't the match I was hoping for. I'll just, like, the last 3 minutes were great, and everything else was like comedy, which people know my feelings about comedy wrestling. Not a big fan. Yeah, it let me down. Mustafa Ali looked good once he got going, like once they wrestled, and he won. But that's part of Hiromu's story. That's not part of Mustafa Ali's story here.
Sure.
Hiromu was on this losing streak, which obviously means he's going to win the Best of Super Juniors for the 97th time. But you know, that's what that's what New Japan should be doing. They're at a point where they need their most popular guys on top. So I don't blame them there, but it's very much a letdown for me. And I think it was Meltzer and Alvarez that made a great point about this. They really expected like Ali being from Chicago to be the babyface of this match, and everyone wanted Hiromu.
Yeah, I was shocked by that.
It's honestly a New Japan crowd, though. It wasn't a Chicago crowd all the time. It was a New Japan crowd more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
It was a New Japan crowd against a guy from WWE.
Bingo.
And even though Ali is a Chicago guy, but he doesn't feel like a Chicago guy all the time. Right? He feels like a WWE guy. And I echo Scotty's sentiments 100%. I looked at Andy and I said, oh, this is going to be a good one here. There's going to be some high flying. There's going to be a lot of good action in this match. And he was excited. And this is another time he goes to me, his dad, New Japan matches just are just slow. And I'm watching like, dang, this is a New Japan junior heavyweight match. Why is my 8-year-old right about this? And he was like, it was a lot of comedy. You know, Daryl Jr. won over the 8-year-old. He was digging on that, of course.
That's what it means. That's what matters.
But at the same time, him and I both wanted high flying action. And again, at the end of it, it was good. But then I was like, what's your favorite? Well, I asked him what his least favorite match is. And he had already divorced the girls match in his head.
Yeah.
So he was like Hiromu. He's like, I didn't like that match. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, like, I think he just wanted action. I agree with my 8-year-old. Like this match was not what I thought we were going to get. I thought we would get some more.
Will he ask for a yoked Daryl Jr. in the future?
We went to the merch table, and I said, do you want the Daryl Jr. thing? And he looked at it and said, I got enough stuff. He's at home. So we got the grab. I couldn't believe it. He got the grab bag, the size small, because there's only that could fit him. He's little. Got the size small grab bag, which featured 5 t-shirts. I posted one of them on.
That's awesome.
A pair of Shingo Tagaki shorts,
nice.
Which looks like
the random thing.
Dad underwear, like they're pretty big on him, but he loves running around wearing them. A New Japan, the old heavyweight title belt bandana, which I was wearing yesterday. We were both trading off. It's pretty awesome. It was a bunch of cool stuff in the grab bag, so I was awesome. But no, he had his opportunity to buy a Daryl Jr. and he was just like,
didn't need yoked Daryl.
No, it wasn't. It didn't. He didn't. Which surprised me. I thought I was going home with with that, but we did not.
With that.
Going back to an earlier conversation point, I think the one thing about this match, and it's sort of a thing that you and I, Scotty, have talked about a lot with Mustafa Ali ever since he returned. I don't remember if we even talked about it in this show, but like the very first like Gringo Loco versus Ali match where I watched, I said this to you of like he's missing something. And going back to an earlier conversation, he is choosing to do a character in a world where it's better to be a guy with character. A guy with character is the babyface underdog in 205 Live. This guy, the politician, all this stuff is a character that just doesn't really, he's focusing too much on it. And when he's in that last stretch, bloodied, high-flying moves all over the place, it works. But for that most of the match, you don't get it.
He's a very talented guy that's not, I think, utilizing his talent enough.
He's got Tony Storm syndrome right now.
Nice.
Yep.
You know,
that's a good burn right there.
Thank you. But I mean, like, it's the truth. People come out of WWE sometimes and they have that in them where they think that way is the way. And like, well, if I want to get over, I got to be a character. This is the lesson that no, you don't. Because remember, Cody Rhodes went from leaving as Stardust to being the American Nightmare, which is just Cody, right? And that look where that's taken him. Biggest star in wrestling right now. So I mean, like, I think that people come out of WWE with the wrong lessons. I think Mustafa Ali is the guy people wanted to cheer for a long time, but he's doing this politician thing that I don't know if it's a face or a heel. I don't know what he's supposed to be. I don't understand it. I don't understand. I'm not watching TNA right now. Sorry, Mike. I don't know what I'm watching with him anymore. I don't hate it, but it's not. I feel like he's hamstringing himself.
I just need to let the people know that Ryan really wanted us to preview Rebellion. I said, well, Ryan, you're going away next weekend, and I'm not watching the show. So
I was like, and no. I cut it. We dropped it off.
It might be the worst pay-per-view card I've ever seen from TNA. Like, post bad times, obviously.
My tag team partner, Mike Gilbert, continues the Brace for Impact thing, and I'm done. I checked out of it a year plus ago, and now they're talking about this WWE TNA alliance, and I'm like, ooh, I'm never gonna watch now. So I mean, like, I'm done.
That's fine. That's completely fair. But we're not talking about that match. We're not talking about that show. We're talking about the Riot Rules match. Clark Connors, David Finlay, Gabe Kidd, and Kenta. Turns out it was just Bullet Club versus Eddie Kingston, Jeff Cobb, TJP, and Homicide.
Never do mystery partners again, ever again. I was so let down. Like from when everyone was revealed, I was like, I don't even want to watch this anymore. Like, I don't care. It wasn't until Gabe and Eddie finally got in the ring that, like, I feel like it really had anything to it.
Was it hot in the crowd? Obviously, there were brawling all over the arena. It wasn't hot there.
Yeah, for the most part, it wasn't as hot as Uno and Jack Perry. People love Eddie. People just love Eddie Kingston. And I agree with the new mystery part. I'm like, why couldn't we just announce this is an 8-man tag? Like, why did this? Because I got a text from a buddy who said, I think it's going to be Adam Copeland and Mark Briscoe. And I went, oh my God, this place will come unglued. And I think that got around and people were expecting something more. Because when the War Dogs came out, I'm like, oh, it's just the War Dogs. Why did we make this a thing? Wait, Kenta, but I mean, like, okay, Kenta's cool, but I mean, like,
who's excited about Kenta?
Why didn't you? Well, this Kenta's. I mean, I don't know. It's fun to watch this Kenta, but it's not Kenta. So I mean, like, it's just, I don't know. It's Kenta. And then it was like, and I get it, Homicide. I'm like, oh, of course, Homicide would be out here with Eddie. That makes total sense. And TJP and Jeff Cobb. It's fine, but I'm like, why did you tell me this was like mystery partners when you were just going to do the most logical thing possible? That's not what a mystery is about.
Mark Briscoe could have at least been there.
It would have made sense. Yeah.
What, like, that would have made so much sense. Like, I understood if Adam Copeland wasn't going to show up.
I would have been like, that'd have been wild if they'd have done that and didn't advertise it. Like, that would have been super wild. So I hoped, but I didn't quite buy. But I thought Mark Briscoe was a legit possibility.
The craziest team I came up with, and I told this to Scotty, was Eddie Kingston, Homicide, Mark Briscoe, and Jun Akiyama. Let's just throw the guy in there. Why not? It won't fit at all, but let's throw them in there. Let's just throw it all friends of Eddie.
That would have been wild. That would never happen, I would think. But I mean, like,
no way would have happened.
Because of the rules of the match, I was like, there is zero chance. I didn't even think of the promotion and what was going on. I was like, he is not wrestling in a warfare match.
As I'm watching the garbage cans and kendo sticks and shillelaghs getting flying, I'm like, is this really New Japan? Like, is this really what we do with New Japan now? I don't know. It's what it is. It was fine. Eddie, I could watch Eddie forever. I love Eddie Kingston.
Yeah. The match was it was whatever it was, I guess. Next up, New Japan World TV title match. Zack Sabre Jr. ends up defeating Matt Riddle in 13 minutes and 15 seconds. Ending. A lot of people are expecting this as the end of the Matt Riddle experiment. There's some talk and conversation about him potentially just getting up immediately and fist bumping and smiling and whatnot. And people think that he's got heat with the back office. There's that rumor going around. What do you guys think? Do you think the Matt Riddle experiment is over, or are we going to see him in the G1 next summer?
I think I could see him in the G1. I could see that, but I could see. It wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't do anything till then. I mean, I was talking to my buddy when we were showing, like, Matt Riddle should be one of the biggest stars in pro wrestling. Like, he really should be. Like, he's got talent, he's got charisma, he's got a legit background, but he's Matt Riddle.
Yep.
And there's just something about him that's not working. And then in like 2016, 2017, when he was doing the stuff in Evolve with Catchpoint, and I was like, this dude's gonna be a freaking star.
Yeah.
And like, it just it's on him. Like, he had opportunities in WWE, he got over, and then like just kind of, and he's just continued to kind of, and the fact that AEW didn't touch him it did surprise me a little bit. But I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah.
And like, I watched it. It's a good match. Like, he's in there with Zack Sabre. Like, I really enjoyed the match, but there's just something about Matt Riddle. People just don't, and it's not even he has go away heat. They just don't want to watch him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When he came out, the crowd just felt like there was maybe some cheers for Matt Riddle, but ultimately it didn't feel like the crowd was too interested in booing or cheering Matt Riddle, which is a terrible response, obviously.
Especially with that crowd.
Especially for that crowd. We saw how hot they can get. Scotty, thoughts on the match, thoughts on Riddle, I guess.
For an MMA guy, I've never seen a guy kick so weak. I was watching this guy kick and I was like, dude, like, people with less of a background than you kick harder than this. Like, what are you doing? Like, he's just like lightly tapping Sabre. I was like, let him in. Like, maybe it's because like I watch enough Japanese wrestling where it's like I just want the guy to light him up. But it's like Zack Sabre Jr. could take it. Hit him harder. Just hit him harder. Like, what? It's the WWE kicks that I'm watching Matt Riddle do. And like, maybe this is just a me thing, but it was annoying the hell out of me. Was it a good match? Yes. Zack Sabre Jr. had a good match. Shocked, stunned.
Great wrestler.
But yeah, it just, I don't have any connection to Matt Riddle. So like, when he is on my screen, I'm just kind of like, all right, let's get this over with type thing. And if they never brought him back, I would not be upset. Yeah, that's he belongs at MLW. I'll say that.
Good fit for him.
As Major League Ryan, of course, I have to take offense to that, but I will accept that right now. I mean, even then, like I say that, but like this match was really good, but also a better match, I would say, more of a shocking better match. Matt Riddle versus Kosei Fujita in MLW was actually really, really good.
Well, that's because Kosei Fujita is great.
But you expect it was Zack Sabre Jr. Kosei Fujita is still up and coming, but hey, he's right then and there. And he dropped him on his head, and it was great. I should say Fujita dropped Riddle on his head. The match was really good. It was well done. It was just sort of like the crowd wasn't into Riddle, which hurt it, obviously. Non-title match, Nick Nemeth defeats Tomohiro Ishii. Obviously non-title because we're prepping.
Not as good as Ishii versus Chris Jericho. I've already gotten that confirmed today.
8-year-old right there.
I'll agree with him.
Obviously not a title match here because the first match is going to be against Tanahashi, and they've been building up that sort of as the first match whenever Tanahashi comes back. But nonetheless, Scotty, I'll start with you first. Do you think Nemeth was able to have, Ishii's always able to have great matches, obviously, but do you think Nemeth was able to hold his own and have a solid match with Ishii?
He got there. I think in the early going, he was a little hesitant. A lot of Nick Nemeth post WWE work is mat work because he's using his amateur background, which is great. I always thought like that's what I wish he did more of because JD has a great story about Nick Nemeth and because didn't you wrestle against him?
My team did. I didn't. I was heavier. I was he wrestled 165 at Kent State. I was at 197. So like I didn't wrestle him personally.
Can I correct, or can you correct for me that he wore a Neminator shirt?
Oh, every week, every time came out to, I believe he came out to Shawn Michaels music. He had pink hair, and he had the Neminator shirt on. And God, the Kent State was our rival, and it wasn't like a friendly rivalry. It was like, I fucking hate those guys. Like we just did not like, they were all tanned up, pretty guys, and we were kind of, a little bit more rough around the dudes. And it was like a legit like dislike, and nobody on my team liked that guy. We could not stand him. So to this day, I'm like, I cannot believe how many times I've gone and watched Nick Nemeth wrestle. Like I never, if you'd have told me that at 23, I'd be like, fuck that guy, I'm not going to go. But I've spent way more money on him over the years than I care to admit.
I thought it was a fine match. They got it to an Ishii match by the end, which I think was obviously what everyone needed from this match. And yeah, I think it worked. And when Ishii hit the I don't know what he calls it anymore, but the zigzag, that I got a good pop out of that. I was like, all right, that was great. That was great.
I liked the match. I liked it. I thought it was fun. I thought Nemeth worked really hard. Like I thought his effort was really great. Like he was bumping around for Ishii. Like Nemeth got what makes Ishii special. And like, he was smart, like I said, smart enough not to sit there and just do a chop battle with him. But they did some stuff, and I thought Nemeth worked super hard, and he seemed really motivated. And again, I wonder what he would have been like if he wasn't in that WWE system for so long. Like, I wonder what he would have been like if he got the chance to just wrestle somewhere else and learn other stuff. Because he very much is a Shawn Michaels clone, right? Very much just the way he works, always has been. I don't know, man. I had fun with it. I do agree with my kid that Chris Jericho Ishii was better. But I mean, it was fun for what it was. It's good to see. And he got mad when Ishii loses. I'm like, buddy, Ishii always loses. That's what he does. And he's like, well, he should win. And I'm like, I agree too, man. I agree too.
We all
New Japan fans have been saying that for a long time.
I got an 8-year-old Smark on my hands here. But yeah, it was fun for what it was. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think Ishii did a good job. Sort of, I guess you can say, leaning into that WWE style a little bit with Nick Nemeth, right? Like he was able to hold his own in that different style. And yeah, I agree with Scotty that at the end of it, you get more of that Ishii stuff, you get more of that hard hitting, strong style stuff. And I think it was a good, solid effort from both ultimately. Yeah. I'm into Nick Nemeth, Hiroshi Tanahashi. I'm excited to see that match whenever that freaking match happens.
Dontaku probably. If I had to guess.
Yeah.
Well, they aren't going to have a world title match, so it has to be there.
Yeah. So I'm interested. I'm interested to see that one. But speaking about world title, your main event, IWGP World Heavyweight Title match, Jon Moxley defeats Tetsuya Naito, 20 minutes and 21 seconds. I don't necessarily want to call this like a shock or anything, because building up to it, a lot of chatter online of like, I don't know, I think Moxley could win this. And we talked about this a lot building up to New Japan Cup, that the New Japan Cup, the sad truth of it is that ultimately it wouldn't have mattered, because we knew that the winner of that was going to lose, because this match was going to happen. And I don't necessarily think Scotty and I, we truly were 100% on board with Moxley, but we were leaning him that would be a cool idea.
Yeah.
But they went with it. Jon Moxley gets the win over Naito. They've already announced like a bunch of dates coming up as well. I think like 3 or 4 dates for New Japan on various tours. So I think this is a huge match. Obviously, super bloody for Moxley. He has to get all the blood out that he would have gotten out of Arena Mexico out here. So he needs to get it all out of his system. And yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it was a great affair. JD, what did you think about the main event live?
God, I loved it so much. It was watching that hype video from before, because I was trying to speak this into existence like a month and a half ago. I'm like, when they announced it, I'm like, I thought that they could do it. And I thought at first, like, he's not going to win. He's going to lose to Naito, and they're never going to change titles in here. But then they started like phasing him off AEW TV, right? And I remember talking to my buddy John Muse about this, and we're both like, you know what? They could actually do this. This could actually work, because I feel like the New Japan main event scene kind of needs a kick in the ass, and this is what pro wrestling companies do. When you need a spark, you put something on Jon Moxley, because it's what you do. Hey, when Tony Khan gets in trouble, shit, we got to get the belt back to Moxley. because he's like a great stabilizing presence. And like because he actively chose not to go back to WWE, there's a lot of hatred for him. People are like, oh, look at him. He looks. I'm like, he looks like a fighter. Watch UFC. John Moxley's built more like a real life fighter than any of those guys. Like, and there's something. He's my favorite professional wrestler right now. I love John Moxley, and when he hit that first Death Rider, I was like, it got me. And then when he got Destino'd, I was like, here it comes. Then he kicked out of the Destino. The crowd was electric, man. Yeah. It's such a cliche to say, but it's so true. Like, you could just feel it. And he hit that second Death Rider, and like there was just elation in the crowd that we got to see a New Japan title belt, the IWGP title belt, change hands in the US. Mm-hmm. Like, is that the first time that's happened?
First time since Okada beat Jay White at the G1 Supercard.
I forgot about the G1 Supercard. Yeah, okay, I forgot about that. So like the second time that's happened for real, and it was just, it felt like a moment, man. And I was with my kid, and it was awesome, and he got to see Moxley win the really cool. The AEW World Title. He got to see Moxley lose the AEW World Title a couple months later, and now getting to see this with him, it was just, and he loves Moxley too, and he was just like eating it up and like going crazy. Like it was just great. Like for me, it was everything I love about pro wrestling. And I saw Tony Khan and old Renee in the backstage. They poked their heads out, and I was like, hey, look, they're feeling this right now. It's pretty cool. So I mean, like it was awesome. And being the same place that he won his first Win Trust, same place he won his first AEW World Title, like same place that I think he did something else in Win Trust too. I forget what, because they run AEW runs so many buildings out here. Yeah. So it was just a cool moment. It was just a real cool moment to get to watch that and to see a guy, first guy ever to win the world title in AEW, WWE, and New Japan. It's really cool.
Could be the only.
Could be the only. Yeah, might not.
That is.
Who'd be? I can't think of anybody else that could possibly.
I think the only other person that's won an AEW World Championship and a WWE Championship were Punk and Jericho. Yeah. And Punk not anytime soon with New Japan, I would have to suspect. And Jericho.
I hope not.
It would have happened by now if it was going to be Chris Jericho. That time would have been in 2017 or 18. So
and I'll see if I can figure out.
There's other people obviously that can get WWE titles, but we're not wishing that on them. I'm not gonna name them.
I'll look up who those people are. I'll name them.
I'm not gonna name Kenny Omega.
Don't put that. Don't put that.
No, that's why I'm not naming him. That's why I'm not naming him.
People are convinced. You see, he had that interview where he said he didn't hate CM Punk, so now people are convinced Kenny Omega is going to WWE.
Yeah,
he's just the normal one.
Yeah, he's a good human being, acts like a human.
Yeah, what a crazy idea. I thought the match was great. I remember I was on the Mike and JD show, and we talked about this exact match and this exact scenario, and that's when you convinced me, JD, that this was like a real possibility. And then I saw Tony Khan was there, and I said, oh, it's definitely happening now. That helps always. I thought this match was great. I got texted like right when they got to the apron from one of my friends. They're like, you think Naito's going to go all out for this match? And then he takes an absolute header on the apron. I was like, yep. I was like, he sure is. I also joked like, well, does he have a t-shirt on? No, so of course he's trying.
It's the first thing I noticed too. I was staring, looking at the gear. I'm like, if he's dressed, we're gonna get a match. If he's got that stupid t-shirt on, he's not. He doesn't give a shit in his boo-boo face. Worked his ass off.
It would have been very funny if he did it. And the thing about Naito too is he doesn't have long title reigns. It's just not something that they give him.
He's the chase. He's always the chase.
He is the chase. He's the best chase. He's arguably the best chase because they do it again and again and again and again. And the fans in Japan love it as much every single time. He's incredible in that role. And Moxley winning creates so many possibilities, right? The obvious is him and Shota Umino for Shota Umino's first world title match. That's going to be fantastic. And we know that's coming. He just has to go through Ren Naruto first, which is, whatever. It's going to work in Resurgence because, like JD said, people hate House of Torture. Mm-hmm. But Moxley winning was like that ultimate. Like I feel like everyone that actually appreciates pro wrestling just enjoyed that moment. Nothing against Naito. Naito was cheered louder originally. Mm-hmm. He came out like again, New Japan crowd. But it was just like that moment of like this guy has again proven again and again and again why you should just stick to your guns, bet on yourself, and he really is the ace of the world. It's not just AEW. He is the ace of the world, and now he has the title to show it. I hope that he can defend this title as many times as possible. I think the reasonable time he drops is probably Dominion or Forbidden Door. I'm going to assume Forbidden Door at this stage. But I'm excited for whatever is to come our way. I'm not wishing Jon Moxley the title away anytime soon. I think a lot of people are more interested in New Japan right now because of Moxley than they were a week ago. And that's the power of Mox.
Guilty.
See?
The only person that hasn't gotten the WWE title, we've already not mentioned that person. Other people, Jericho and Punk, we already mentioned as well. People that have won the WWE and IWGP titles and not an AEW title. I don't expect this list to maybe change. Hulk Hogan, don't think that's happening. Brock Lesnar, I doubt that one. And AJ Styles, who
I hope that one doesn't happen.
Yeah, I could see it, but at this point, his age and everything, I don't necessarily think it's going to happen.
This guy just said that he hurts waking up in the morning. I don't think it's happening.
Going off what you said, Scotty, it's interesting. We started talking about like this weird idea of kind of like the writing of the ship of New Japan, of like, if you want to fix some things, you put the title on Naito, you put it on Moxley or whatever. I don't get the impression from like the New Japan Twitter fan base all up in arms about a AEW contracted talent winning their top title. They were all up in arms about Okada leaving, Ospreay leaving, AEW taking all their talent, and the relationship being super bad for WWE, or not WWE, super bad for New Japan. I don't really see that when it comes to Jon Moxley. JD, why do you think that is?
It's Jon Moxley. I think he's done his work there's just something about him. I almost think he's like,
I think he's better than
Terry Funk. I would agree with you. I think there's a difference to him. Like, he just works differently, and he's Terry Funk, right? Like, he's this generation's Terry Funk. There's just so much goodwill bent up in Jon Moxley, and most people love him. There's people that hate him because Jim Cornette told them to, and John doesn't care. Mox doesn't give a shit what anybody thinks of him. And there's something very real about that. Like, we talked about the problems of Mercedes Moné, and we talked about, Mustafa Ali out there playing a character. When Jon Moxley left WWE, when Dean Ambrose left WWE and just said, "I'm Jon Moxley again," there was no, this is my character. This is what I am. He's like, "I'm here to fucking kick your ass."
Yeah.
Right. I'm Mox again. And like from moment one, people got into that. And like, there's just something about him that's very appealing. He's very much the everyman wrestler. Yeah. Everybody loves Moxley. Everyone who loves, like Scotty said, everyone who loves pro wrestling loves Jon Moxley, because you can tell how much he loves this stuff. You can tell how hard he works to have good matches. Nothing is like easy for him. Like, he's not a blessed physical athlete, but he just cares so goddamn much, and it transcends every time he's in the ring. My favorite professional wrestler right now.
I don't think AEW will ever have a better signing, truthfully.
Never.
With how important he is and has been for the first 5 years. Like, we could, sure, it was the Elite's company. Sure, it was this and that. It's Jon Moxley's company. That's what
he's been the heart of the company since the moment he came out in that first Double or Nothing. He held that crowd. The arena was shaking. Like, you go back and look at that footage, the camera is literally shaking because people have lost their shit that Jon Moxley is here. Right. Mm-hmm. And like, from that moment on, the man has been the heartbeat of that company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in many ways, you can attribute a lot of their TV success in terms of contract and whatnot to Jon Moxley as well. Mm-hmm. So a draw for sure. Well, yeah. Any other thoughts on Windy City Riot before we move on? I thought it was a really good show. I thought it was a really fun, exciting show. These, between that
strong shows.
Yeah, between that and Battle in the Valley, I am very intrigued. Oh, the other thing was that Rocky Romero right before the show announced that he is a new, I forget the phrase, vice president of New Japan Strong Talent and Development or something like that. Whatever the phrase was.
I thought he already was.
Already was, but I don't know what that entirely means either. But yeah, between Windy City Riot, Battle in the Valley, I think these strong shows have been nailing it, and I'm excited for Resurgence.
Resurgence already has Moxley versus Ren.
Yep.
Vaquer versus Windsor, and Eddie versus Gabe Kidd. So
yep.
Hot start for that show as well.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about real quickly our final topic here today: AEW Dynasty. Obviously, the next pay-per-view in AEW's lineup in the long-awaited return for a pay-per-view for St. Louis, Missouri. Here, live on 4/21. We have a card, I think, mostly put together. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right? Did I count that right?
Sounds like 8, enough to me.
8 matches. I'm sure there'll be 4 more on this card. And let's go over it, shall we? First match on the card that we know about, AEW International title match just announced last night in Collision. Roderick Strong versus Kyle O'Reilly. JD, what do you think about this match?
Could be a lot of fun. I don't know if time is right to take the belt off of Roddy right now, but
Agreed.
But at the same time, the AEW's equivalent to the House of Torture, the Kingdom, I can't remember what we call these guys anymore, is super cold. And
I enjoy
Kyle
House
O'Reilly
of Torture way more than the
Undisputed Kingdom. Yeah, fair. I would put it on Kyle O'Reilly. I think there's more of a story there, but nothing would surprise me. I'm surprisingly cold on this whole show, to be honest with you. Like,
oh, really? What?
Yeah.
I guess we'll get to that as we go unveil the
It's the type of to me that like has a lot of great matches. But I don't know. It feels kind of sudden. Does anyone else feel like the card just kind of the show just snuck up on them?
Yeah,
like
yes,
a week away. Yes, like it's like, oh, okay. But I think it's the type of AEW card that like you watch it and you're like, oh, that was a great show. Once it's all said and done, because the matches are very good.
Yeah, it's an AEW pay-per-view. At the end of the day.
Hey, now AEW World's End was terrible. We can't just say it's an AEW. That pay-per-view still gives me flashbacks. I hated that show so much. Even though Samoa Joe won the title, you didn't watch it. I remember that.
I didn't watch it.
You didn't watch it. You lucky.
I was so cold. We had a tournament. I was cold. I'm like, When the show was over, I saw the online vitriol. I'm like, you know what? I'll save my $50.
Smart
Good
man.
Call.
Next up, AEW Continental title match: Kazuchika Okada versus Pac.
I'm excited for this.
I mean, we talked about the cold. I'm excited for this match for sure.
This is New Japan versus Dragon Gate for the sickos out there that care.
That's exactly what this is.
Yeah, I'm super excited to this. I love watching Pac. It's been disappointing seeing him with all the pandemic flight stuff and injuries and whatnot over him, and whatever long ass injury that he suffered and took forever to rehab. I've always liked Pac. I think he's one of the better wrestlers in AEW. It's just been we haven't been able to really see him, and you know what? Now we're gonna see him against Kazuchika Okada, and boy, howdy, am I excited for this one.
Okada wins, obviously. That's not really a secret, but it's how good can they mesh, and I think this feels like the first time for Okada to have an Okada Classic in AEW. So I think that's like my main mindset here. What kind of match do they work? Because we haven't seen the big Okada pay-per-view match now that he's part of AEW. So that's the excitement for me. And I think Pac's obviously a great dancing partner for it.
Pac's going to eat the best Rainmaker ever. It's going to look so great when he's going to
land on his head
somehow. He's going to land on his head. He's going to die. And we might not see him for another 6 months because that's just what happens. But I mean, it's going to be a great match. And if you want Okada to have a great Okada match, Pac's the perfect guy to put him in there with.
How old is Pac?
32-ish?
37.
Oh, wow. He's older than I thought. Wow.
Yeah, way older than I thought. Holy crap.
He's been around for a long time, though.
That's true. I thought he started really young, though. So,
yeah.
He might have. He
started in 2004, so he did start really young.
Yes, and Okada is 36.
It's a 20-year vet right there.
AEW Women's World Title match, Timeless. Toni Storm versus Thunder Rosa.
I'll tell you right now, this match will not be better than the one she just had with Izumi. Guaranteed.
Oh God, JD's going back to X-Men '97. He's turned into Cyclops over here.
He wishes.
I do actually. I don't care this time. I mean, I'm not super anti Timeless Tony, but I have not thought Thunder Rosa's looked good since she come back. Toni Storm is just working the gimmick. She's not working like Toni Storm. I'm not. I'm so disinterested in this whole thing. Tony retains because we're doing the Mariah May thing eventually. So
yeah.
Whatever.
What do you think Thunder Rose is missing? Because I do agree that she's missing something, and I haven't really
I don't know.
pinpointed it.
I think the injury just took a lot more out of her than we realized. Sometimes when you're coming back from, like, as an athlete, sometimes coming back from a major injury, you're not the same, and you have to change who you are. And it takes a little bit of. I remember when I herniated 2 discs in my neck in college, and I had to change my body to wrestle. I had to move up in weight. I had to get bigger, and it took me a while to find myself and to get back into what I am now. Like, it's a good season. So I mean, like, I think we're kind of there with Thunder Rosa, where she's just figuring out what she is right now again, and we haven't figured it out yet, because she was out a long time.
Yeah,
like 2 years. Like, that's a long time to be away. So, and I just haven't been impressed with what she's done since coming back.
Yeah, the company itself has changed a lot since she's
Big time.
Especially the women's division. I agree. And it could just be, maybe there's still lingering effects. Maybe there's something that she still has to figure out and move differently or something. With our, what was it, back, right?
Backs are hard, man. The back is a hard injury to rehab. Especially, we never really got the details of what she did. Did she herniate a disc? Did she tear something? Is there more hip? Like, we just don't know enough. So it's hard. I'm glad she's back. I'm glad she's found a way to get back in there. It's just, I don't know, man. I think the whole thing is super cold for me.
I had zero clue this was the world title match until last night when I watched the Azumi match. I had no clue. Because I feel like the entire story has now shifted to Toni Storm versus Mina Shirakawa for the love of Mariah May or whatever. Sure. So it's like, and I think people are way more interested in that already.
I saw 10 seconds of the Mariah May match. That was the highlight of Dynamite this week for me. I'm a big Shirakawa fan right now, man. I'll tell you that for a fact.
Which 10 seconds, JD? Which 10 seconds?
Great work rate, man. Fantastic work rate in that match.
6-man tag team match action. Eddie Kingston, Mark Briscoe, and Adam Copeland versus the House of Black. Scotty, what do you think about this match? Should this be under Riot rules? Should this be a Riot rules match?
No, I'm happy it's just a straight up trios match. This has 2 outcomes. It's either going to be the biggest letdown because, shout out Malachi, or it's going to rock. Like, it's just the truth. I watched part of Collision last night, and the opening match was House of Black versus Dante Martin, Action Andretti, and Matt Sydal. It was a really fun match. Brody King rules. So
Brody King, his rules.
Yeah, so like he just like destroyed people, and it was great. And I was like, you know what? This match should not be better than the one next weekend, but I wouldn't be shocked if it was. It really comes down to like who's in the ring the most, I think, and I hope the answer is Brody King, because Brody King said, "I'm coming for you, Copeland," and I was like, oh my god, see, that's the match I want. So hopefully that's the focus here. And Briscoe and Cope and Kingston all are great, so hopefully they just follow their match rather than something else.
Once Adam Copeland figured out what the AEW crowd wants from its matches, he's been fantastic in this company.
Yeah.
Right. He's so smart, right? And he's figured out the essence of what we want. Mark Briscoe and Eddie Kingston are 2 of the most beloved baby faces in this company. And House of Black is a wild card because you don't know what you're going to get. But Brody King works hard. Buddy Matthews works hard for the most part. Yeah. Malachi he's a fucking pariah. Let's be honest. Like, he don't want to be there. Sometimes his effort is meh. He doesn't have a back injury, but he has a back injury. Like, there's always something. There's just like a dark cloud around this dude. That's not part of the gimmick, actually. And like, it could be. I'm thinking this could be the match of the show. I really am. I think this could be fantastic. Or maybe it sucks. I think Scott's right. I don't think there's any mid ground on this. I'm going to look at it optimistically because I think Copeland is too smart, and I know that Malachi respects him a ton. Yeah, so I think based on that, it's going to be a good match. But you never know.
I joked about it being Riot rules, but I will say, I think if they did want to make it no TQ and make it anything like that Atlanta street fight on Collision a couple weeks ago that I was at live
with Double J.
That match ruled. I loved it.
Is that on Rampage or Collision?
That was Collision. if it was anything like that, with
That's the show I talked you
instead
into
of
going
Double
to.
Jay Lethal, and I think that was Mark Briscoe still. Add instead of Double J and Jay Lethal, you put in Adam Copeland and Eddie Kingston. I think would be even better. But we'll see.
I would definitely agree. It would probably be better.
Yeah,
No
but that match had fire and whatnot. So I would.
We know Edge likes fire. Sorry, Adam Copeland likes fire.
He is partial to fire.
I've never been able to call him Adam Copeland. I never will.
Hard. I'm gonna go with Cope because you got to go with the one syllable thing, right?
I'll pick Land.
Cope.
I'll pick Land. I'm a big Land guy.
You could call him Adam, but there's like 6 Adams running around that company, so that's too hard.
Too many.
Is he the best Adam? No, Hangman Pages. Sorry.
Page is pretty great.
So let's rank the Adams. So we got Page,
Copeland,
Cole.
Is
that all the Adams?
I think there's another Adam floating.
Gotta be
there,
another.
I'm not
Adam,
sure.
Let's look at
Adam. It feels right.
That's the 3 Adams.
That's
Adam, Cole,
Adams.
Copeland, Page.
Yeah, I'm riding with that list.
That's the list.
Sorry, Adam.
Of course, doing the classic AEW Ring Post Radio bit of looking up the AEW roster page.
You would think I would know the roster by now, but I don't.
Changes all that time. AEW World Tag Team Tournament final match, of course, the Young Bucks versus FTR. But as stated on Collision last night, it is now a ladder match.
It is? Yep. I didn't watch Collision last night. We were doing
the ladder match came out of nowhere.
Yes. I didn't.
Now a ladder match. JD, first thoughts.
It is? That's my first thought. I missed Collision last night. The kid and I were watching a movie. Collision is something I typically watch on Sunday nights before my podcast. So, and when I get to it, I guess this is something they haven't done yet. And the Bucks are great in ladder matches. And I think after the kerfuffle this week, they probably needed something else to latch onto. And a ladder match is probably the way to go. But yeah, okay, I'm excited for this now. I actually, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, probably looking forward to it more now. And I hate ladder matches, but I like a Bucks ladder match.
Yeah.
Right? They're probably the best in the world doing ladder matches. And a Young Bucks ladder match. So yeah, I'm in. What the hell?
Part of the thing I talked about with the Punk footage was that it was a way to possibly elevate personal tensions between these two teams. It didn't quite land, so another thing they have to add is, or maybe this is the plan or whatever, but adding a ladder match to make it a little more. You have to elevate these stakes. This is the 4th match, I believe, in their series. So you need to elevate something, especially with.
I still think I saw the best one live.
No, yes, you possibly that was the second one, correct?
The ROH title match, in Boston.
Yes, that was a good match.
I doubt you saw the first one.
Nope, the first one was impossible to see in person.
But yeah, so they need to elevate something. Obviously, they've elevated some personal tensions, and now they've made a quite literally elevated something with the ladder match here.
You're ignoring the most important thing, and that is that Jack Perry is going to put someone through real glass by pushing them off the table.
That's going to happen.
Which one's the one with the gun?
Which one's how we write off Cash Wheeler?
That's the one. That's
Cash.
Yeah, he's gonna be the one that takes that bump. It ain't gonna be Dax.
We saw it with Darby, so now we know that going through the glass is a-okay in this company. So
that was real glass. Can confirm. Saw Darby almost die.
It was all crushed. It's crushed glass. It's fine. Real.
It was terrifying to watch Darby's back. Just great match though. So
as a fan, as someone watching from the confines of my television, it was
awesome.
Great.
That's true.
So yeah, they've definitely done some more stuff in this match. I'm interested. A ladder match, like you said, Young Bucks. Hey, they're good at it, so I'll be into it.
Which is kind of funny,
FTR is.
Everyone call them Hardy ripoffs, and like the ladder match, they do so great. Yeah. They call them Hardy ripoffs for the longest time. They have a lot.
And FTR is going to want to do some sort of Razor Ramon, Bret Hart, not Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels. Oh, bad mistake. Razor Ramon, Shawn Michaels gimmick or something probably during this.
Probably.
AWTBS title match: Julia Hart versus Willow Nightingale. I think it's very safe to say that Willow is probably winning this one as we prep for Willow versus Mercedes Moné at Double or Nothing.
You should have done this months ago.
Yes. Agreed. I don't know why they've waited so long to pull the trigger and do something with Willow Nightingale. She's one of the most over baby faces they have in the company. I don't want to. I hate to think about the reason why Tony doesn't push her as hard as he does is based on look completely, right? Because Willow has a unique look and she's over, but I cannot figure out why they don't do more with her. right? She gets over in spite of their booking.
It's especially after the whole Mercedes Moné, New Japan Strong title affair,
Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, but I mean, there's no way she doesn't win this. I think Julia's gotten hurt too. So I mean, it's a good time to take that belt off of her, put it on Willow. Willow's beloved, and then you got possible stuff with Mercedes and with Statlander. So good work.
Yeah, I understand what they were trying to do with Julia Hart. She got very popular very quick. But it's fine. She's still very young.
She's like 21. Like she's a
yeah,
child.
yeah. So
She
Willow
got over.
deserves this.
Yeah. I mean, Julia got over, right? You got to give her credit. She made that thing work. She's kind of the glue that makes House of Black kind of. I don't think it's as good. Yeah, I don't think it's as good of an act without her. Not nearly. She's out there doing the Stevie Nicks thing, and it works. But I mean, the time has come. We need it's come.
Yeah. Julia Hart, 22 years old, has been wrestling for 4 years. If you can believe it.
Get her in Stardom.
Yeah.
Give her a Stardom.
Why does everyone have to? Actually, no. She's cool. I'm cool with her going.
She works hard.
She's
a pretty good athlete. She works pretty hard. I think she would benefit from something like that.
She would. She is
Scotty,
someone
is that number 3 on our list then? It's Julia Hart, Anna Jay.
I'm not sending Anna Jay. Stop.
I don't know about Anna Jay.
Everyone kind of tries to send Anna Jay to Stardom.
I'm sending Anna Jay to Stardom because she should be better than where she's at, and Stardom would help her. I have to imagine help her get.
Listen, not everyone's gonna leave like Mariah May. Okay, let's just accept that.
That's fair. But can we all agree Queen Aminata in Stardom? That would
just rule because Queen Aminata is good.
She's good. She's real good.
Yeah.
Before we get to the next 2 matches, any other matches that we think are going to happen? It feels like maybe a trios title match between the Acclaimed and Bullet Club Gold potentially. Hopefully that is a combination of the titles. Or no? Yeah.
Who cares? Put it on the buy-in, and I won't watch it.
Any other matches that we feel like could be building up in the surrounding area?
I feel like I don't watch AEW anymore because I can't think of anything else.
I'm in the same boat. I watch the show every week, and I'm like, oh, what else is gonna happen? Like
that's gotta be it, right?
I'm good. Yeah,
I think that probably be it. Yeah,
it's pretty full card. I don't need anything added personally.
Right. This is Andy. He just walked into my office for some reason. Tell everybody what you thought about the New Japan show on Friday.
Great.
It was great. Who was your favorite guy when we were watching it?
John Moxley.
I thought you said Ishii was one of your favorite guys.
I want to see his match.
Okay, I'll see you, buddy.
See ya. Have a good one. What a run in. Last 2 matches before we go. Bryan Danielson versus Will Ospreay. I mean, what more do we have to say, right?
Just give him the stars. Just give him all the stars right now. Like people are gonna get so mad because it's gonna.
How many will they get?
Like 7. Like Dave's gonna bump the scale. Dave's gonna melt brains. It's gonna be awesome. People are gonna get so mad that it gets more ratings than the kerfluffle that was WrestleMania. Like I'm here for the chaos. I don't even care. I don't even care if the match is actually good. I just want it to have 7 stars.
Pretty confident the match will be good.
Oh, it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be amazing.
I think my one thing about this match is that Bryan Danielson, when he left WWE, this was the first match he said he wanted. He's finally getting it. So, and I think Bryan Danielson should win. Hot take, maybe, but you listen. Danielson loses a lot.
He does.
And if Will Ospreay keeps winning, you're gonna have to give a world title match really soon.
Yeah.
If your rankings matter.
Rankings are a work in real sports, let alone
I know.
People get so worked up about rankings. It's just
if he beats Bryan Danielson, to me, that's like, all right, you're number 1 contender for the world title. And if Swerve's becoming world champion on the show, you probably want to push that off a little bit longer.
Well, hold on. Why would beating Bryan Danielson, a guy that loses all the time, make Will Ospreay the number 1 contender?
Because Tony Khan said so. That's why.
Okay.
Beating Bryan Danielson means a lot more than like beating a champion half the time.
Sure.
So
sure.
That's why Bryan Danielson loses.
Quality of the win. It means a lot.
Yeah. And like I said, the match is going to be unbelievable. It's a dream match. It's a legitimate dream match. Like this is what I will let people call a dream match because we like to throw that term around so much so that Voices of Wrestling has a dream match counter that will be like this guy I never heard of against Mustafa Ali, and it's like, all right, cool. This is a dream match. At one point, we never thought this was going to happen, right? Daniel Bryan was having a great time in WWE, never needed to leave, had a career for himself. He left, and he left for a match like this. I don't need to say much more. Give it all the stars.
I'm excited about this match.
Break the scale, all that good stuff.
What I'm excited about this match is that Will Ospreay is really great at wrestling against other people and forcing
Stop there.
But
He's really
forcing them in a good way, but forcing them to work his style, right? Work the Will Ospreay style. You know, we've seen Will Ospreay matches around the globe. Bryan Danielson is really good at working other wrestlers' styles. We've seen that with Okada. We've seen
Hechicero,
Blue
Panther.
Yeah.
We've seen it all over the place. So he's really good at working other people's styles. So you get a guy that's really good at making other people work his style versus a guy that's really good at working other people's styles. It feels like that's a match made in heaven, and I cannot wait for it. I cannot wait. It feels like it's gonna be a perfect puzzle piece of fitting in pro wrestling. So I'm excited for it. I again, what more do we have to say? This match is gonna freaking rule.
Bryan Danielson is so good at pro wrestling that a year ago he wrestled Okada at Forbidden Door, and people were like, that was underwhelming, didn't live up to expectations. And it turned out he destroyed his arm in the middle of the match. And you had no idea. You just thought he had a decent night at the office. That's how good Bryan Danielson is at professional wrestling.
And even like a decent match, it was like 4+ stars pretty much from everybody.
And everybody's like, oh, I was expecting the greatest match in history, and it was only pretty good.
Yeah.
He had one arm. Oh, my bad.
World title match here in the main event. I have to imagine Samoa Joe versus Swerve Strickland. Are we crowning Swerve Strickland? That's the question.
I think it's time.
Why do you say that?
It feels like they want to. It feels like Swerve is. I don't know if he's over as he was a couple weeks ago. A couple weeks ago, I felt like this was the time. I don't think we've had great crowds the last 2 weeks, so it's hard for me to tell. But when they did that run in Toronto and in Boston, I really felt like it was time for Swerve. And the last couple of weeks hasn't been great crowds, so it's like I'm questioning that at the moment. But it feels like it's now or never for Swerve.
Yep.
It feels like this is the time. And Joe is a guy you like Moxley. If it doesn't work, you can always go back to Joe. But I feel like the Wembley match, which we have to start planting seeds for, is Ospreay and Swerve. I feel like that's the biggest thing we can. I feel like it's the biggest thing they can do. I feel like we need some fresh blood up top and just something different.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it seems like, and again, Swerve's in a weird place right now where he's still with Prince Nana, and there's still like, Cage and those guys are still heels, and it's just, there's some weirdness going on, but I don't think that it detracts from what Swerve has done the last couple of weeks. And Swerve's is having the run of his career at the moment, and I feel like this is the time to kind of go all in.
Yeah, I agree. I don't mean to use the Cody Rhodes line here, but he does feel undeniable right now.
Yeah,
and if you have him lose, it's bad choice. Like this is almost booking 101 at this point. You were able to prolong it a little bit with the Hangman involvement last time.
Sure.
You can't do it again this time. And people are still hot for Swerve. Like JD said, the past few crowds haven't been great, but when they were in great cities, the reactions were through the roof for him. He was getting one of the loudest pops. And this is kind of the role Joe's perfect for, is putting over a new guy, right? We watched him put over a lot of guys in a lot of companies through the years. I think this is the time. And if the system is to go from Swerve to Ospreay or Swerve to Hangman to Ospreay, either way, you got to get it on Swerve first.
So that's the question in the chat. Hassan Albana, I believe is pronounced, in the chat. I'm worried about the AEW Championship post-Dynamite. If Swerve is winning, he needs a really, really top challenger. You talked about it at JD a little bit. Is that building up to Will Ospreay at Wembley? Not till August. What do you do between April and August with Swerve if he's the champion?
See, here's the problem with some of the booking on the shows sometimes is we're not really good at next guy up booking. And I think it's a problem in pro wrestling in general right now. It's not just a comic book guy, right? So I remember Paul Levis, who wrote Legion of Superheroes for years, had his A to B to C booking philosophies. Your A story is the one that dominates, right? And then your B story is your second story, and your C story is one that builds up. And when the A story is finished, the B story becomes A, then the C story becomes B, and the seeds you've been planting along the way become the new C. And that's the way it goes. And you move on. And pro wrestling, I've always thought, should follow that mindset. Your A story is your world title story. Your B story is who gets the next shot. and your C1 is below that. We're not good at building up that B, let alone C story right now. I don't see a challenger. I don't think he's wrong. I don't see another challenger that can just step up. No, I take that back. It's right there. We've all been ignoring it. It's all right there. We've ignored it. It's Hangman Page.
Yeah.
It's Hangman Page. I can't believe I just talked myself into that as I was in mid-sentence.
I was letting you get off your chest.
I'm so stupid. I had to just work my way through it. But we have it. We did the work already. And Hangman Page has been laying in the weeds. And the fact that Swerve gets it as a babyface would be perfect. So, yeah, that's the next story. It's Page, 100%.
Well, I'll ask you this. Adam Page has already said, multiple times, as long as you're looking for this title, I'm always going to be in your way. I'm always going to stop you. Does he stop Swerve from winning the title here, make his return, and then at Wembley, we get Will Ospreay versus TNA legend Samoa Joe?
I don't want that. Is it a possibility that happens? Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, like
Samoa Joe, but I don't want that either.
I'm worried about Hangman stopping Swerve because I don't think Swerve is Cody Rhodes. I don't think you can kick the can a year down the road and have what you had here. Like the fact that I got to give WWE credit for having the balls to do that and for them to stick with it the whole time, and it worked. I think that talk about that undeniability thing with Cody Rhodes. I think that's him. I don't think there's enough accrued interest in Swerve right now to have that kind of confidence. I think you need to do the Sting thing, rip the Band-Aid off, put the belt on him, and then just go with Page. I think Page should try to stop him, and then Swerve in babyface fashion overcomes it.
Scotty, what do you think?
Yeah, truthfully, I think Swerve's best challengers are out right now between now and Ospreay, and that is one Hangman for obvious reasons, and the other being Darby Allin for kind of obvious reasons. Those two and their history speaks for itself. Darby was heating up, obviously, post Sting, and then he got hurt. I know he was going to climb Everest and everything, but me assuming he was going to live, which wrong. Maybe. Yeah, like I just assumed he was going to live and he was going to come back and be in a big role. So I feel like those two are the obvious ones, but of course he broke his foot. So Hangman can get you through Double or Nothing. And then after that, there's the fear. And the fear comes in the form of 3 letters, which is MJF. He's coming back soon.
I will say this. I wanted to double check the pay-per-view schedule. It's Double or Nothing next, and then Forbidden Door, which, hey, if he's still champion by then, could easily just main event with Jon Moxley. And then it's All In right after that in August.
Do Swerve versus New Japan guy that I can't think of.
Sonata, obviously. Everyone's into that
God,
one.
Don't do that.
You guys were talking about MJF.
Evil.
Inevitable return. Now we're talking Swerve versus Evil. Now we're talking baby. Anyways, MJF, you're talking about MJF's return.
Oh, yeah. It's coming sooner than later. Obviously, it makes sense for him to fight on Undisputed Kingdom or whatever.
Let him do that. Let him have 6 months with that.
I agree. I agree.
I think MJF,
the problem is Adam Cole's still hurt.
Yeah. I think that's the Wembley match.
We got Roderick Strong. We got Roderick Strong there that he could wrestle with for a while.
You got
Wardlow. Wardlow's still there.
No more Wardlow. I'm done with this guy.
Yeah, but we don't have to pay attention to that. Let them be together and do their thing.
Just put them all in one. Put them over here.
Remember the Codyverse? Let it be the MJF verse.
Oh, do I remember the Cody verse? Codyverse is a special time in AEW, for better or worse.
Scotty, if only there was a podcast that talked about this. Little tease. I think the Wembley thing is going to be like MJF versus Cole, assuming MJF is back and Cole. I assuming both guys are healed from injury. I guess that would be the match. But yeah, no. I don't know. I think I agree that Swerve makes sense, but I guess I can't also deny that part of the heat would be Adam Page ruining his title win. That would be part of the heat, right? So I don't know. I think I'm leaning Swerve win, but it's just a question of how long Page is out, and we can't really discuss. We have no idea. We have no idea even why he's out. So I guess we'll find out. I guess at AEW Dynasty. Any other thoughts on the show? One person also said that they believe maybe like an Orange versus Trent match, but I don't know. That could be like a singles match maybe or something. I think that's still too up in the air. We'll see what's going to happen with that. But beyond that, that is Ring Post Radio. Thank you so much, JD, for coming on. Hit that plug for everybody real quickly before we go.
First of all, Mike and JD show, on the Voices of Wrestling Network, me and Mike Gilbert talking the news of the day. We're also tonight, we're going to be recording for our Patreon, Mike and JD Patreon. We're going to watch They Live, the John Carpenter classic starring Roddy Piper, one of my favorite movies. So that's going to be tonight. We record that. It'll be live on Patreon. Think of it as a commentary track. We're not going to post the video of it because we will get in a lot of trouble. So that Kickstarter for Gaijin, my new novel about a professional wrestler in Japan gets sucked into a Yakuza incident, launches on May 6th. I'm very, very excited about this book. It's not just a novel. There's also, of course, the ebook version, the audiobook version. We also have some cool short stories to go along with it. I've got the program for the tournament that they're going to wrestle in, so you get the little bonus stuff. It's if you're a pro wrestling fan, I think you're going to love it. If you like just, old thriller noir crime books, I think you're going to love it. We mix those two elements in really, really well. So it's the best thing I've ever written. I can't wait for people to get their hands on it.
Again, May 6th, Kickstarter. That's when the launch happens. Scotty, plugs over for you.
I have no idea. Follow me at Scotty Wrestling.
You say that like you don't have a billion things.
I know I have a billion things, but I don't remember any of them. I don't know. I've been lazy lately. I feel like after JD came on here and told me to get off my ass, I have no choice but to start writing again. So I appreciate that. Stardom Road this week, Tuesday. We're talking about Utami's reign. Pretty big news tomorrow. Rossi Ogawa is announcing his new promotion, and he's been in the news. So I'll be very busy this week over on Fight Game Media with the 5-Star Joe show. So check that out as well. Kind of a big week for me. So looking forward to that.
My plugs I think it'll be Thursdays when I drop this.
I didn't know when that was coming out, by the way. I couldn't plug it.
No worries. I'll plug it right here. I believe it's going to be out Thursday. A new episode of The Ballot will be coming out on patreon.com/countoutpod. The Ballot, of course, discussing the Observer Hall of Fame candidacies for all the first-time ballot holders. So this episode is coming out this Thursday. We'll be with Scotty as we discuss Cody Rhodes and his Hall of Fame candidacy. And do we think he's going in? Obviously, previous episodes have been about the Usos, Zack Sabre Jr., and Kento Miyahara, the last one with Gerard DiTrolio. So check out The Ballot on patreon.com/countpod. I also have another series coming out.
You're busy.
It'll come out after The Ballot. So I already have 2 episodes recorded of that series, and that'll come out between now.
Blue-ball the people like that?
Yeah, I'm going to blue ball the people a little bit. You got to sign up to Patreon on that $5 tier so people figure out what I'm talking about. So we'll get more episodes out between now and then. Again, JD, thank you so much for coming on to Ring Post Radio. It's been a blast having you on, like always.
Thanks.
So we very much appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys having me on, man. I'm and giving me this is the first promotional podcast I've been able to do for Gaijin. Really good talk. I love hanging out with you guys, and it was a great time.
Hey man, I'm excited to read the book. I'm excited to support the Kickstarter.
Thanks, man.
I'm very much excited. It sounds fun. It sounds like a fun book to listen or read to.
Or you can listen to it. You can listen to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, audiobook will be available.
Podcast, so I'll listen to it, I guess. So yeah, until I should also say, not next week, not on Sunday. Little note here: we are not going to record on Sunday of next week. We are recording Tuesday night. That's next week, Tuesday, April 23rd is the next time we are recording. It's in the calendar. I'm sure Scotty remembers this. So until next Tuesday, we'll see you all later. Goodbye. Oop, I muted myself. Goodbye, everybody.